Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions Show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle D. Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
You know, listen, credit to those guys over there. They came in and they took that game and they earned it, and we didn't. So we wanted a fast start in both halves, and we didn't do that. We did the opposite of that, and that's not the type of game we wanted to play. And then, you know, once we got into that game, we said, well, that's fine. We can play that game, and we didn't finish it.
Welcome into the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. It's quiet in the studio. It's quiet on Woodward. It's probably quiet in Detroit as well. On this Monday, not Victory Monday, it's an L Monday. Yep. But a lot to break down, no matter what. It's a win or a loss, plenty to discuss. We got the entire crew here with us today. Sam Flannel joining me per usual. I got JB in the booth, Gabrielle D. Phillips. She was at the game, so she'll fill us in on what she saw there. Lucas Klotz. How you feeling, by the way, Lucas? You were going through it yesterday on the stream, indulging in whatever you were indulging in.
Yesterday got away from me. There was a tequila tower at the Lions tailgate that me and Kool-Aid were introduced to, and that let the day get away from me, but you know what? It's a Monday. It feels like a Monday. It feels like Mondays of all Mondays for Lions fans, but brighter days ahead. Brighter days ahead.
Well, you know what? We'll discuss all that and plenty more to preview this week with the Falcons coming up. 2-0 Falcons, by the way. But I want to get everyone's reaction. Sam Flannel, how you feeling this morning? What's the first thing on your mind?
Not great. I'm not going to lie. That was a loss that the Lions, and I'll get into it a little bit more in previous segments, that is a loss that simply cannot happen. And and I know today is going to be a bit of a tough day. We can all have a bit of a therapy session, but just remember, guys, just remember, I sung the Lions' praises as much as anybody did when the Lions won at Kansas City. I might say some things today that might seem a little bit harsh when you first hear them, but just remember, when the Lions are good and when they win, I cheer. When they don't win, I boo. And here, there are some things the Lions need to clean up, and there are some very, very valid criticisms. So before you accuse me of jumping off the bandwagon or anything like that, or having an overreaction, I just wanted to give that caveat, because nobody can be happy with what happened yesterday. Inexcusable.
And it's funny, Sam has to give like the warning there for what's to come.
There's going to be a lot of triggered fans today.
Yeah, but I'm with Sam. I got some things to get off my chest as well. JB, I'll go to you. How you feeling this morning?
Jeff, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm still a little upset.
And that's the voice of reason.
I'm still a little bit upset, but I do understand, and I can't beat up the Lions too much about it. But yeah, I'm still pissed about things, but I've calmed down since our post game show from yesterday, because honestly, Lucas was probably on one more than I was, but yeah, I'm definitely upset.
And I'll get Gabrielle D. Phillips' thoughts because she was at the game, so it's a different perspective. Mike Gentry in the back, who's clips for our show and does a great job. He's on Big D as well, so check him out. He was at the game, and we couldn't really fathom. We couldn't experience the crowd here at the studio at the watch party. We were watching the game, but we didn't. We don't know the environment. I'd be curious to talk to some people, which we'll be able to do at 9 o'clock. I'll be taking phone calls. So again, if you were at the game, if you got things on your mind, you want to get off your chest as well, call into the show. I'll put the number in the chat. And a lot more to get to. 8:15, we'll get into some more takeaways. And 8:30, I want to talk about the defense, because we have to talk about this defense, especially after yesterday, and kind of talk about where the defense, you think it'll trend moving forward. 8:45, I do want to talk about Aiden Hutchinson, Sam Flannel's guy. We're going to have a conversation about him. 9 o'clock, like I said, we're going to take callers. So anything that's on your mind, you want to get off, call the number there, and I'll put it in a little bit. 9:15, we're going to have a discussion once again with Sam Flannel about the ski masks. Because if you guys didn't see it, Trey Brown, yeah, he was wearing a ski mask in that Seattle Seahawks locker room. And then 9:30, we'll preview some games around the NFL. But Gabrielle D. Phillips, you were at the game. Your reaction?
Yes. The spirits were so high in the beginning. We got there like 2 hours beforehand, which normally like you don't need to. There's no lines 2 hours beforehand. They had power hour that started an hour earlier than the normal hour before the game, and it was packed, and the bands were playing, and everyone was like so into it, so excited. Just all the tunnels were completely packed, which I don't normally see at a Lions game. Getting down to the seats, everyone's energy was great. I happened to sit next to a couple of Seahawks fans. They were very kind. I will give them that. But it was just, you could just feel the energy and the noise, and the crowd was so into it the whole time, all the way up until the last second. I mean, truly, I believe that everyone at Ford Field thought that they were going to be able to turn that around. So to be there when they didn't was even more heartbreaking. Like the sad walk of shame out when Seahawks fans, like the few that were there, were like cheering, was, man, it rips the hope out from under you.
Especially when last year, like I went to the Miami game and there had to be about 50% Dolphins fans. So like you look at it now and how many Lions fans showed up to support. And again, this isn't something that I think will just end. It's going to be like this all season. But that is probably the most frustrating part of this thing for the players, for the fans. Like, it's the first home game. That environment was unreal, as I was told by people that were there. Obviously, I did not experience it. And they just can't come out with a win against a team that, again, and we'll get into, trust me, I do want to start early. There's a lot to get to. But you look at the things that really hurt the Lions. Injuries, right? Vitae goes out with a nasty, it looked like a knee injury, so we'll see the update on that. You're already out with Decker, and then you look at the defensive side of the ball. Well, actually, we'll stay on offense. David Montgomery left early with an injury. He returned, but we'll see how that trends. Amon-Ra St. Brown banged up as well. I think it was cramps, if I'm not mistaken. And then you look defensively. Pascal's on IR. James Houston left in a wheelchair with a walking boot, or with a boot on. Like, C.J. Gardner-Johnson was banged up. Kirby's banged up. Emmanuel Mosley's not back yet. Like, injuries and turnovers in some decision-making, questionable decision-making. I'm not just saying from coaches. We'll get to what I mean by that. Just everything collectively, Sam Flannel. You're not going to win that football game. It's going to be hard to.
Well, 100%. And injuries, and I'm going to kind of highlight those really quick, they did play a factor, and it's not an excuse. It is a reason. I mean, David Montgomery, somebody who I maybe unfairly haven't been as high on as some people. And other than that fumble, which was terrible and which was critical in swinging the game, David Montgomery played very, very well. And the second he went out, that running game just basically died. It was non-existent. It was stagnant. Where you at, Jahmyr Gibbs, by the way, but more on that later. Vitae goes out. And who knows how serious that's going to be. And they were already missing Taylor Decker. James Houston goes out, and that certainly doesn't help the pass rush. Emmanuel Mosley was already out. And I get it. The Seahawks were facing injuries as well, so it's not an excuse. But those are the things that are kind of the extra kick in the nuts when you lose a heartbreaking game. When you come out limping with injuries as well. Josh Pascal was already out, speaking of another guy. So it was a factor, but it almost makes it sting even worse because you don't know how long these guys are going to be out. It seems like a couple of them at least for a little while.
Yeah, and I want to make this very clear for the audience here. I'm not going to go the ref route. I'm not doing that today. Like the refs, like I'm not. That's not something I'm going to do. If anybody else wants to talk about it, that's fine. I'm not here to sit and complain about the refs. I'm just not. Like the Aiden Hutchinson, the hold at the end. There was other opportunities, which we'll talk about, that you had to win that football game. You didn't. Like, there's other things I point to than just blaming the refs. Now, what I will say is what's impressive about what the Lions were able to do is you're down 10, right, in the fourth quarter, and you come back, you tie the game up, and you take it to OT. Now, we'll talk about what happened kind of, the last stretch where the Lions had the ball to end the game, and they just basically waved the white flag and said, we're going to go to OT here. We're not going to try to win this football game at home for a chance to be 2-0 against a team that needs a win bad. and the referee crew, guys, and this is why I want to say, and this is why I don't want to go and complain about the refs. And D-Mac made a great point yesterday. And you have to have this perspective on refs. If they're going to call something a certain way, you expect them to do that for both teams. That's what you expect. And when we first saw early in the game, there was, I forgot the flag that was thrown, but we sat there, that's not a flag. And D-Mac's like, just wait and see if they call it for the Seahawks. And I'll give you, they called it for the Seahawks. They were fair on both sides, the referees. I'll give you, the calls were a little ridiculous, but they were ridiculous for both teams. And that's what you have to ask for. This is a referee crew that came into the game calling the most, throwing the most flags out of all the officiating crews. So you knew what to expect. So I don't want to sit here and say, well, Hutch was held. Guys, like, there was so many more, and we'll talk defensively. You could have did more, right? Jared turning the ball over, even though Jared had played a hell of a game, by the way. So I don't want to just say he turned the ball over and that's the it. Like, Jared was on one yesterday. He was playing really well. But there was other things, right? Like going for it in Seattle's territory when you have a chance to go up 3 points. 3 more points. There's a lot to break down there. I know, Lucas, you're over there sighing. Like, what's on your mind initially when you think about these things? The refereeing and stuff like that.
The referee, I don't give a damn about the refs. The refs were there, but you know what? I'm sorry. That if you're going to complain about the Aiden Hutchinson holding call, Aiden Hutchinson should have been making much more of a difference than he was against backup tackle yesterday. I understand they were trying to game plan strictly for him.
We'll get to him, too.
But my lord.
Yeah.
Alex Anzalone, the linebacker, was the only one who had a QB hit yesterday. Your defensive line was non-existent. And what did we all say the key to the game was? The defensive line. It didn't show up. You go back to just the play calling, everything. It looked like we were watching last year's Lions team in the first half of the season again. It just felt eerie similar against the Seahawks. A pick 6, you lose by 3. I haven't given up though.
Yeah,
the hope is still there.
No, and trust me, I'm livid. I know I'm trying to keep my composure, but I am livid about the defensive line. Trust me, I have a lot of built-up anger that I'm going to get out at 8:45. Like, and I'm trying to keep it cool right now because I don't want to, release everything I got for the entire show here, and then we have nothing later. Trust me, 8:45, I'm talking about that defensive line. And the fact that Alex Anzalone was the only player on the defense that had a quarterback hit.
The player
Alex Anzalone.
The player that Detroit Lions fan kind of like mock, and I'm one of them too, that kind of like, yeah, he's all right, but he's not going to do anything for you. It's significant.
Yeah,
and he was arguably the best defensive player for the Lions yesterday.
And you go and you look at the coordinator too. AG deserves some of that blame. I mean, the lack of the adjustments or the lack thereof you saw throughout the football game. Like the pressure, especially when guys started going out. Right, Houston went down. You had no Pascal. It just seemed like, all right, we're going to keep rushing the same amount of guys here. And just allow Aiden to hopefully get one, and he just unfortunately never did. Linebacker play questionable. I mean, we talked about it last week. 4 starting linebackers. There's a lot to get to. You know what I mean? I'm pissed off. Let's go to break here. You know what? When we get back, we'll get to some of our takeaways from the Lions dropping one, falling to 1-1 to the Seattle Seahawks, a team that they just have not been able to beat. They've lost the last 5, now 6 matchups in the last 2 years, not counting this game yesterday. Gave up 99 points. Add another 37. I mean, come on, dude. Seattle. Well, you can tell us about our friends over at Lady Jane, Sam Flannel.
Of course, and they still give me these great haircuts, even if I'm depressed today, but maybe a great haircut can make me feel better, and you can come to Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men for an award-winning haircut experience. Register to win a trip of your dreams and all expenses paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament. That's right, no expense spared for you and 5 of your best buds. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Join Woodward Sports' own Jeff Iafrate, along with special WSN guests, for the most anticipated Lions season in decades. Filled with different surprises and expert analysis. You're not going to want to miss out. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Sundays and tune in live from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m.
By now you know me, Christina Gennari, as the obvious choice in real estate. And you know my website, soldchristina.com. as your #1 resource for buying or selling your home. Myself, along with my amazing staff, pride ourselves on making your home buying and selling experience a relaxing and easy one. Come see why we are the obvious choice. Christina Gennari at soldchristina.com, the obvious choice in real estate.
Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot-off-the-press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
5 Iron Golf, Detroit's newest sports bar, has 13 TrackMan simulator, certified instructors, and most importantly, a full bar and restaurant. 5 Iron Leagues are back, debuting on September 11th, or they've already debuted, excuse me. Compete nationwide for a chance to win a trip to the Dominican Republic. You bring a foursome or sign up as an individual, and you'll be placed on a team. It's at 5irongolf.com. Use code Woodward10 for 30% off the league. That's 5irongolf.com to sign up. today. We're back. It's the morning Woodward show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Don't forget, if you could give us some sort of W today, that would be liking the video, liking the stream for us. It does support the show, supports the channel, helps with the algorithm. If you can't catch the show live, you can always go back and re-listen on any podcast platform you get your podcast. But plenty more to get to. I want to just spend the next 15 minutes or so and just kind of give our break, our kind of takeaways here from the football game. But first, I want to hear from some of the players. It doesn't matter who you throw up first, Lucas, but here are some of the Lions players commenting on the loss yesterday to the Seattle Seahawks.
It's just a marathon. Everybody fought hard on both sides of the ball. The best team on the day. Ain't nothing you can say, ain't nothing you can do. You just got to do better on our end, get necessary stops, get the ball back off and let them go down the score. But like I said, it was a good game. We fought on both sides.
I felt like we did a defensively good job stopping the run. I think they had 80-something rushing yards. But at the end of the day, we got to make those crunch time plays, and defense has to figure out a way to get a stop in overtime to, help seal the deal. So yeah, you just got to lift each other up. There's a ton to clean up. Number one on my mind is tackling, and just playing sound football. Defensively, I felt like we were able to do that for the most part. Just in those crunch times, we got to figure out a way to make a play.
We don't give up. I mean, it's down 10. I mean, we still got to play. There's no give up in this team. It's still week 2. We're still trying to figure some stuff out on our end, but we get to it and watch this film and see what we got to continue to clean up.
Now, those are the players, Josh Reynolds, Alex Anzalone, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, speaking on the loss yesterday to the Seattle Seahawks. I'll start first with my takeaways, and it'll be very brief here because it's nothing surprising. I mean, yesterday, if you want to talk about what stuck out to me, besides the pick six by Jared Goff, that was one hell of a football game by Jared. Like, I want to say that. The guy played his absolute heart out. The offense at home scored in every quarter until OT, and he didn't get the football. So, Jared Goff, I want to start by saying that. Even with the guys coming in and out of the offensive line, right? The Amon-Ra St. Brown goes out for a play or two. You got David Montgomery out of the football game. Craig Reynolds comes into the football game. And you got essentially rookies out there that are helping out with big drives, which is big time, right? Jameer, and then, of course, Sam Laporta on that one drive where it was pretty much just all Laporta. But Jared Goff deserves a ton of credit for how he played yesterday, besides the pick six. But again, this is a guy who went over 400 passes without throwing a pick. Unfortunately, though, the pick was returned for a touchdown. So that's the unfortunate part. But I want to start by saying that Jared Goff overall yesterday, 28 for 35, 323 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Had 121.8 passer rating. Like, I'll take that besides the pick six. But even if he throws a pick, I'll take that every week from Jared Goff. So I want to start by saying that. Give credit where it's due there. Next, I want to point out Sam Laporta. That was what he's been doing the first 2 games, and I know we always talk about tight ends, they start slow. I mean, he has 5 catches week 1, 5 catches week 2. Like, this is a guy that, again, I know tight ends are going to they always take the hardest position for a rookie to step in and just master. But for Laporta to have 10 catches in 2 weeks, had 63 yards yesterday, showing a little bit of that yak ability, I want to give him a ton of credit as well yesterday. Now, I do want to say defensively, this is where you come to a crossroad because we only have a 2-game sample size. 1 game on the road in Kansas City, the defense looked great. Now, no Travis Kelce, but still against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, defense looks great. And then week 2, they do that. Like, and I don't want to give out too much, but defensively, that's a problem. Specifically, that defensive line, but you could talk about all 3 levels and essentially share blame there. Now, the next takeaway I want to say is that I'm not going to overreact to this loss because in the NFL, and we talked about this last week, there's going to be games that you are either close to winning or you think you should win and you just don't. Even though it's unfortunate, and last year you look at some of those games that the Lions could not win that ended up costing them a playoff spot. You look at Miami, I was there. They were up 10 at halftime, didn't score in the second half. You bring up Seattle not forcing a punt. You saw that game played out, and nobody thought that those games would cost them a playoff spot later in the season. So you have to think about it like that. It's unfortunate, but at the same time, it is a long season. You got Atlanta coming up, right? And they're 2-0, but still, at least this Lions team, not saying they were, getting cocky or anything like that, but they did get humbled at home. Like, that hopefully can kind of reshift their focus to this upcoming week now against the Falcons at home again. So maybe they needed it. Even though it's not ideal, you'd much rather the Lions be 2-0. But at the end of the day, they weren't at least how they played, they were not supposed to win that game. They still found a way to compete. They went to OT and never got the ball back. So it's an unfortunate loss, but it's not the end of the world, Sam Flannel. That's my takeaway.
You know, it's not the end of the world, of course, but I am going to overreact a little bit because, quite simply, the Lions gave this game away to the Seahawks on a silver platter. There were 4 plays that you simply cannot make in any NFL game if you want to win. I don't care who you are. In the second quarter, I'll start with the first one. With the score tied at 7, the Lions face a 4th and 4 from the Falcons' 31-yard line, and the Lions, they go for it and they don't convert. That would have been a 48-yard field goal attempt, which, by the way, Riley Patterson in his career is 83% in his career from kicks between 40 and 49 yards. The Seahawks, they didn't do anything with it when they got the ball back, but that might have directly, and by the numbers it did, directly took 3 points off the board for the Detroit Lions in a game that was tied at the end of regulation. And let's go to next one, the first possession out of halftime. The Lions go into halftime with a 14-7 lead. I personally thought, with the way the Lions offense had been moving the ball, the way Jared Goff had been playing, that the Lions were going to take that kickoff and go score a touchdown and basically take complete control of the game. What actually happened on the very first play, David Montgomery fumbles, which directly leads to a 2-play, 23-yard Seahawks touchdown drive that ties the game. So instead of having a 2-possession lead, or at the very worst, punting the football and flipping field position, you basically gift the Seahawks 7 points. And how about this next one? With the Lions up 21-17 again, they scored a touchdown, they hold the Seahawks to a field goal. The Lions are faced with a 4th and 2 from their own 45-yard line. They did not learn the lesson of earlier, which the lesson is you don't always have to go for it. They miss, and it directly leads to a 9-play, 45-yard touchdown drive for the Seattle Seahawks.
That takes time off the clock.
Absolutely, because the Seahawks really milked that one. So instead of maybe pinning the Seahawks inside their own 10, they give the Seahawks a short field, and the Seahawks go ahead and take advantage of it, and now they are up 24-21 at the beginning of the 4th quarter. And then, of course, this is not a day to crap on Jared Goff, because besides for the play that I'm about to mention, Jared Goff played almost a perfect game. But then the very next Lions possession, with the Seahawks up 24-21, Jared Goff throws a pick 6, which directly leads to the Seahawks getting 6 points, and the Seahawks then lead 31-21. So let me recap. The first mistake more than likely took 3 points off the board. The second mistake set up a 23-yard touchdown drive for the Seahawks. The third mistake set up a 45-yard touchdown drive for the Seahawks. And the fourth mistake directly led to 6 points in a game, again, that was tied at the end of regulation. And the Lions and the Seahawks, the biggest difference between the Lions and the Seahawks is the Seahawks did not turn the ball over. They did not make those critical mistakes. The Lions, when they had their touchdown drives, they had to go 75, 75, 75, and 65 respectively. And the Seahawks basically had 2 short field drives and a pick 6. To me, that is the difference in the game, and that is why this one burns in my cross so much, because the Lions should have won.
Yeah.
I'd say in most ways they outplayed the Seahawks, but they just kept shooting themselves in the damn foot. I don't care whose fault it was, whether it was Dan Campbell, the players. I think we could spread the blame all around. That was an inexcusable loss, and it deflated me so bad.
Now, I wanted you to bring it up because I didn't want to steal your thunder there, but I 100% agree with you about the field goal there that essentially swung the other way. Seattle went down and scored pretty much immediately, to your point. So, again, this whole thing with Dan Campbell, and I want to, because I hate being the Monday quarterback, right? Monday morning quarterback where you wake up, you go on the show and you say, man, you shouldn't win for it when it doesn't work, but when it works, you don't say anything. Like, even when we were watching the game, we're all like, oh, I don't know if I'd go for it here. Like, you get a free 3 points, essentially, and last year was decided by 3 points. Like, especially at home, you just sometimes take the points. Now, the fact that they didn't get it, and of course, the defense, you could bring up the defense, which again, that defense doesn't go with no blame either. Last 2 years, this year's game and last year's game, the defense has given up almost 1,000 total yards of offense. That is ridiculous. 1,000 yards of offense in 2 games. They gave up 500 last year, and they gave up almost 400 this year. Like, that is inexcusable. That is blasphemous. That is so. Of course, you want to bring up the not going for it or not kicking the field goal, of course. But you could also bring up the defense not getting an effing stop. Like, that's the other problem, too. So, defensively, they got some things to work on there, Lucas. But what are some of your takeaways?
In my opinion, this was simply, and I'm not going to start the fire Dan Campbell train, but in my opinion, this simply came down to Pete Carroll out-coaching Dan Campbell. The Lions, they wanted to start off hot, like Dan Campbell said, in the first half and the second half. They really didn't do it either way. Seattle, without a doubt, made the better halftime adjustments and put themselves in a position to put their best players, especially DK Metcalf. They kept exploiting DK Metcalf on Jerry Jacobs time and time and time again, and the Lions would not adjust. This comes down to coaching, in my opinion. The Lions were the more talented team. I don't think there's any way you can say it might be close, but especially when Tariq Woolen goes down for Seattle, let's not act like that's not huge for them. Evan Brown left the game too. The Lions did not capitalize on anything that was given to them theoretically. They didn't capitalize on anything. I think the one thing that you can point to as a positive, and people are still going to probably bash him, is Jared Goff. Jared Goff was the thing that was holding this team together, and if you're going to blame Jared Goff for that pick six, I want to ask you a question. You have a rookie running back running a little inside slant route out of the backfield. If he takes that step quicker, if he takes that cut a yard quicker before, that ball is not going to be behind him. That comes down to just communication between the quarterback and running back. I'm not blaming Jared Goff that much for that pick six. That has to do with a lot of the timing in the route. But it comes down to coaching and just that defensive line. I don't understand how that defensive line only got like 6 or 7 pressures on the game.
Yeah.
Geno Smith had all day to sit back there and throw. All they kept doing was hitting under routes. Like, Geno Smith did not air out the ball once. It was all just he was taking what was given to him. And the Lions never adjusted. They just never adjusted.
I'm glad because, again, I'm like holding in all my thoughts about this defensive line because it is frustrating as hell. I mean, you have Jerry Jacobs. And, again, I've given Jerry a ton of credit. For the most part, he's been really solid. But yesterday was bad. Bad by Jerry. I mean, he did not have a great game. And my takeaway is, Emmanuel Mosley, where are you, please? Come back. The Lions need you bad. And I get Jerry Jacobs a nice depth piece, but when you got him out there guarding DK freaking Metcalf, it's just it just didn't work out. And you have a defensive line that it had one quarterback hit, and it wasn't even from the defensive line.
And that's my thing, too, is when I'm saying it's down to coaching. Like, as a coach, as Lions fans, you cannot expect Jerry Jacobs to go out there and lock up DK Metcalf. I understand that sounds cool, and you're like, well, if he does that, that's the key to the game. DK Metcalf is a 6'4", physical specimen, Pro Bowl wide receiver. Jerry Jacobs, I know we all love him because he's got that dog in him, but dude's an undrafted corner out of Arkansas. And I'm not saying that to be slanderous of him because he has played better than that. But we're not going to act like this was a matchup where the Lions should have felt comfortable leaving him on all day. It just shouldn't. I didn't get the process of that. So if you want to bash Jerry Jacobs, I get it. But it's like, what do you think is going to happen? Did you really expect Jerry Jacobs to go out there and lock up DK Metcalf? If you do, then you're fooling yourself. That's what it comes down to for me.
At the end of the day, the Lions, they just couldn't capitalize. I think that's the biggest takeaway. I mean, now you basically you put more pressure on yourself because now the NFC North entirely is all 1-1, or excuse me, the top two in the NFC North are 1-1. The Packers and the Lions. This was your opportunity to kind of now take the lead there. Be 2-0. Be first in your division. Have a little bit of breathing room now before you welcome in the 2-0 Falcons. Now it's go time. You can't drop this one this week against the Falcons. You put more pressure on this upcoming game coming up against the Falcons. So can the Lions handle it? We'll see. I'm not gonna say the SOL stuff because that's more of you need a bigger sample size for that, in my opinion. One game doesn't make that. But regardless, that was disappointing. And the players would say that, the coach's staff would say that, and you just can't lose games like that. You just can't. It was a great game overall, but the mistakes, the 3 turnovers, one of them didn't really cost him, but the other 2, the David Montgomery fumble was big. That fumble was big too.
And the other thing I want to point out about that is, yes, David Montgomery fumbled the ball, and I know I love Sam Laporta, but he completely whipped his block. And then right when David Montgomery got the ball, Nwosu, however you say his last name, was in the backfield, instantly turning that second half where you're supposed to go down there and set the momentum and do all those halftime adjustments and put them into place. What do? You miss a block, you fumble, and you give the Seahawks, honestly, 2 plays to score. You put them directly back in the red zone. And that's just simple things that the Lions need to correct. You can't do that.
What about you guys? You guys can chime in here. Some of your takeaways on yesterday's, things that stood out to you, significant stuff. Talk to me. What's on your mind?
I really want to see how Aaron Glenn pivots from this because he did talk a big game before going into this matchup. and how like this was their chance to prove it, and they have a bad taste in their mouth.
Might just be bad breath. and because of no loss last year, I'll tell you that, AG. But continue. Sorry.
Man, he had like something has to happen before next week that's going to prove a significant improvement in this defense. And I think that this was, we talked about it on Woodward and Main Street, that this was a prove it game for them to show that last week wasn't a fluke and to show that their defense has improved over this offseason. And I think it did the exact opposite during this game. So before they meet the Falcons, they have a lot to do on this defense.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we got one game, defense plays solid, right? You got Brian Branch making plays, pick six. The next game, you give up essentially 400 yards of offense.
Yeah,
that's where we're at right now.
That is where we're at currently right now, and I really feel like there's blame to be had all around. It doesn't just fall on one person. It's a team as a whole. Aaron Glenn not making adjustments when you should. Always sticking to his game plan that he started from the beginning of the game, moving on for it, and just not doing anything to adjust. As Lucas said, DK Metcalf, Jerry Jacob, that is not a good matchup. You need to have someone else on him right then and there. Dan Campbell, we love how aggressive he is with these fourth downs that he just wants to go for, which is nice sometimes, but it's not always going to work. And I forgot who said this somewhere I read yesterday, and excuse me for that, but this isn't Madden. Take the points while you can.
Take the lead. Not only the points, but they would have given you the lead.
Exactly.
Twice.
Right.
Just take the lead. Take the points while you can. This is not Madden. We love him for being so aggressive and being so extra out there, but dude, this is the NFL, professional football. There are games on the line. You're not going to always have time to sit here and try and come back in the fourth quarter when there's only less than 2 minutes left.
Joe, JB's spot on. Take the points. And Lions fans this morning probably should take the hit.
Well, and here's another hit, though. Just Ian Rappaport just tweeted this out.
Yeah.
Says Lions pass rusher James Houston has suffered a fractured ankle, sources tell me, an injury that will knock him out for at least 6 to 8 weeks.
It just gets worse.
He will have more testing today to determine if he'll need surgery and how much longer he would be out. Houston had 8 sacks last year, so it looks like no James Houston for a long time.
All right.
Are you kidding me?
Well, I was going to say Lions fans should take the hit of the tons of the various of cannabises at Dispo. Sam Flannel, could you tell me more about those guys?
Experience the true meaning of exceptional cannabis products with Dispo Dispensary. I got to give Dispo some love. With over 12 locations, including their new location that is now open in Whitmore Lake, Dispo is never far away. All 4 of the shows, or all the shows except for Woodward Nights with Booner and Broder, will be live this Friday from our Romeo location, September 22nd. Come out and see us. Those are always a lot of fun. Dispo Dispensary, disposhops.com, your local cannabis plug.
Get Houston some weed.
Where's the most convenient place to get that big fitness energy?
It's Planet Fitness.
Join today for just $1 down, $10 a month. With over 2,400 locations and equipment for every workout, you can get in, get energized, and get going. And with free fitness training and most clubs open 24 hours, everyone belongs in the judgment-free zone. So join today for $1 down, $10 a month, no commitment, cancel anytime. Deal ends Wednesday, September 13th.
Join now at any Metro Detroit location. Hurry, offer ends soon.
Brace yourselves, Detroit. As the sun begins to set, 2 of Woodward Sports' brightest young stars will be taking the mic for a brand new show. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder. The dog days in Detroit are over, and the boys are unleashed. Join in on the banter and hop on the bandwagon of the #1 night show on the internet. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel every weeknight from 8 to 10 p.m. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder.
It's the Randy Wise Celebrity Golf Tour.
You're a good coach, Tim. Oh, great shot.
Some of the biggest names in Michigan sports, and some, well, not so much.
Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, shit. Go in.
Watch episodes at woodwardsports.com.
When buying or selling real estate, flexibility and control over the sales process is key. Sellers, how would you like the freedom of canceling your listing agreement at any time for any reason with no cost? That is exactly what Mark White and Associates offers. It's called the minute-by-minute listing agreement. Try their minute-by-minute listing agreement today. Visit markwhitesales.com or call 248-290-8242. markwhitesales.com, where flexibility meets success.
We're back in the morning show talking about Seattle coming into Ford Field and defeating the Detroit Lions. Plenty more to discuss. We got through some of our takeaways, initial thoughts. James Houston now being out 6 to 8 weeks due to a fractured ankle, I believe it is.
Yeah.
It just doesn't get any better. But it will this week. I promise you, it will this week. It's only week 2 of a long, long NFL season, but I'll tell you this. Defensively, that's where, at least for me, it was the most frustrating. Like, it really was. I mean, you're telling me, guys, like this, it's even hard to think about this. On the pregame show yesterday and on the morning show all last week, what did we talk about? 2 tackles out. Get after Geno Smith. Like, we saw this defensive line week 1 against that Chiefs offensive line, and they didn't get to and sack Mahomes, but man, they pressured him. Aiden Hutchinson tied his career high in pressures. Everything looked great. A lot of optimism surrounding this defensive line. You have 10 days. 10 effing days. 10 effing days to prepare, right? You got 2 tackles out. Evan Brown, to Lucas's point earlier, leaves the football game. You had 3 backup offensive linemen for the Seattle Seahawks, and you didn't get a quarterback hit. Not a sack, a hit. Until Anzalone got that. He hit Geno Smith scrambling like hell for he went back 25 yards, and we're all sitting there surprised he even did that. And he gifted Anzalone a quarterback hit. Besides that, this defensive line was invisible. Invisible. Geno Smith yesterday, for people, and this is what's crazy. Geno Smith, 32 of 41, 328 yards, 2 TDs, 116.3 passer rating, played exceptional. He played great. Look at the. Thank you, Lucas, for this. This is the passing chart for Geno Smith. Look at this. Sidelines, dots everywhere. There was no adjustment from this defense. None. And you had Jared Jacobs getting picked on all game. Overall, yesterday was a terrible showing from this defense. And this is the most frustrating part to me, guys, and everybody in the room. They have yet, through 2 games, to play a complete football game. Mm-hmm. They just have not. Last week, defense showed up. The defense showed up. The offense, they just didn't on the road. They did enough to win, but they only scored 14 points. This week, the offense shows up. The defense doesn't show up. That's coaching. It's coaching. For your team to be on the same page and find ways to win football games, that's coaching. Last week, they were able to do it despite scoring 14 points offensively. 14 points. It took Brian Branch for a pick 6 to even win that football game, to put you up 1. Now, what I'm curious about is moving forward what this defense looks like. Because I'll tell you one thing. If you expect this team to win the division, go on a playoff run, it ain't because of that defense yesterday. You ain't doing ish with that defense. I mean, you look at contenders in the NFC, the Eagles, the 49ers, and the Cowboys. That defense yesterday, Sam Flannel, looked like none of those 3 teams. It ain't happening. You have to fix that defense. Offensively, I think they'll be fine because we've seen a bigger sample size of this defense. But we've seen all last season this defense be what it was. Second half looked a lot better, but they still needed a lot of work. They added players this offseason. That showing yesterday, that was inexcusable. It just was.
Well, all right.
At home, too.
All right. So before I kind of go in, I have to first be fair. The one thing the Lions defense did well was they did stop the run. They did pretty much keep Kenneth Walker in check. He only had 43 yards on 17 carries.
2.5 yards per carry.
which is very, very good. I know he got a couple of touchdowns, but he did that more as the goal line touchdown merchant. And the Seahawks had a stretch, or had basically scored 21 points while gaining a total of 68 offensive yards. A 45-yard touchdown drive, a 23-yard touchdown drive, and a pick 6. That is not the defense's fault. But amongst all of that, What was one of the biggest criticisms of the Lions offseason? And I think it's coming to roost. It's coming to fruition. The Detroit Lions did not meaningfully address the interior of their defensive line at all. Broderick Martin, Isaiah Buggs, Levi Onwuzurike, I guess he played, but did he actually play? The only defensive linemen that are interior defensive linemen that are really out there giving you anything are Lee McNeil and Benito Jones, which I mean, as much as I predicted a breakout season for Lee McNeil, it still hasn't happened yet. And Benito Jones, he's just not a starter in the NFL. And now you look at James Houston being out for multiple weeks. Josh Pascal's going to be out for multiple weeks. And we'll get to Aiden Hutchinson a little bit later because I got a lot to say about him as well. But you know what this brings me back to, and a lot of people aren't going to like this, but I see this sentiment in the chat a lot. Jalen Carter. Wait a minute. Jalen Carter was gifted to the Lions on a silver platter. He was. And how has he been doing for the Eagles so far? You know how many pressures he's had in 2 games from the interior? 11. Could the Lions have used some of those pressures in yesterday's game? Could they have?
They absolutely could have, Flannel. But when people talk about Jalen Carter, especially his success early, let me ask you this. When Jalen Carter lines up on the Philadelphia Eagles defensive line, who's right next to him?
Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis.
And who's right next to them?
The Hassan Reddick.
So can we say that's clearly
yes.
the best front 7 in all of the NFL, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say that Jalen Carter would not have made this team better.
Yeah, because he's winning one-on-ones.
But whenever anything happens with this defense, there's so many fans who are like, Jalen Carter, we could have took Mozzie Smith in the second. We're acting like Jalen Carter was the only defensive tackle available in this draft, and I understand. But if you take Jalen Carter, then you can't fill the other holes in this roster. And if those holes aren't filled, you're not even close to that game because you're not able to put up those points that Seattle put up. You can't match that. No Sam Laporta, no Jahmyr Gibbs. You're not getting Brian Branch because you don't have the flexibility to move like that. The whole layout of this team would be different. I get Jalen Carter would be nice, but there is a reason Brad Holmes did not take him. If we're going to blame Brad Holmes, and there's so many people that I saw, this is Brad's fault. This is Brad's fault. This is Brad. No, it's not. First of all, the reason the Lions are in this position, why people are feeling so devastated, is because the Lions have legitimate hype around them, and they got smacked in the mouth. That's what happened. So if we go back, we're like, if the Lions had Jalen Carter, we might have won that. No, you won't. You know why? Because Jerry Jacobs is still manned up on DK Metcalf the whole time. Aiden Hutchinson couldn't even get a sack. Nobody could. So if we're going to act like plugging in Jalen Carter is what fixes this Lions team, I'm sorry, but keep smoking that dispo.
No. It's not smoking that dispo. They absolutely would have won that game with a vintage Jalen Carter performance, with something that he did in the first 2 games. And wait a minute, and this is where people are going to get really, really mad, but I don't give a fuck. In the previous draft, Brad Holmes made a big trade. He traded up to get Jamison Williams, a guy who in week 2 of his second year, I know he was drafted injured, has a total of 81 all-purpose yards. Do you know who they passed up on who also is doing mad work? Jordan Davis, another defensive lineman that could have really, really helped the interior of this defensive line. I get it. His rookie year, he didn't make that much of an impact. But he has this season a sack and a half, 2 tackles for loss, 3 quarterback hits, and 4 pressures. And you know what else, Lucas? You know what else? And this is going to make a lot of people mad again. You're talking about people who the Lions could have maybe missed out on if they would have taken Jalen Carter. You know what? Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm not impressed so far, at least in the first 2 games in totality. In the first 2 games, he has a grand total of 59 rushing yards and 57 receiving yards, and he hasn't really looked all that explosive. I mean, those 57 receiving yards, it's taken him 9 catches to get it. Honestly, I think the Lions would be better, at least in these first 2 games. I'm not trying to overreact too much, if they would have drafted Jalen Carter and kept DeAndre Swift.
Oh my God.
Okay. DeAndre Swift had 175 yards in the second game.
He was playing the worst defense in the NFL behind the best offensive line, and they could do whatever they wanted. If you're going to say the Jalen Carter thing, say the Micah Parsons thing about Penei Sewell.
Okay, fine. Micah Parsons would have been a better pick than Penei Sewell, too. I'll say it.
So what are we doing here, though? What are we truly doing at this point? Because do you agree that Brad Holmes is a good GM?
Yes, I do, but here's what I also believe. And this is an undisputable fact.
Okay.
Last season, a bottom 5 defense wasted a top 5 offense. I think that's a fact. And this year so far, the defense has given, I mean, it's not all the defense. There was a pick 6. They have given up 57 points in 2 games. I'm just saying. The defense has continuously let the offense down, basically in the last.
You're not wrong for that.
No,
I'm not saying that part's wrong.
And I want to say, because someone brought up too, like if you take away the pick six, they win the football game. I don't want to do that. Like that.
If you took away the pick six from us in the first football game, we wouldn't have won the football game.
Yeah, so like that kind of goes both ways. I don't like saying that because again, this is what I teased too last week, and I'm frustrated that it didn't play out like this. I'm like, finally, you have a defense that if Jared makes a mistake, they can bail you out. It's actually the opposite. You can't make one mistake. Like that I think that fumble or obviously the interception that was returned for a touchdown is significant, but like that's not ideal. If the room for error is like this on your offense, it's going to be hard to win football games. It just is. You need a defense that can bail your offense out. They did it last week. They didn't do it yesterday. So, again, we'll talk about Aiden Hutchinson in a second here because I think that'll be a good conversation for us to all have. Revisit Aiden, talk about his performance yesterday because I think he was disappointing. Like, there's no way around it. Defensively, against the run, they were solid, but in pass coverage, man, the linebackers, the secondary entirely, and then getting after the quarterback on passing downs wasn't atrocious. It was just bad all around. Let's go to break. Before we do that, though, Sam Flannel, could you tell us about our friends over at Guardian Alarm?
Absolutely. It is a Let Guardian Alarm offer you customized solutions from real experts. Our professional technicians take the time to recommend security and automation solutions specific to your needs. 24/7 professional monitoring. Call us anytime, day or night, and know that a Guardian team member will stay on the phone as long as needed. Technology backed by people. Your safety and security deserves technology that's been proven to work and people who have been proven to care. Call them at 1-800-STAY-OUT. That's 1-800-STAY-OUT. Guardian Alarm, your local security experts.
The sports marketing agency would not be who we are without great community partners like Higuera Health and Carol Zaniga.
It's an awesome opportunity to partner with your organization. Higuera Health is a comprehensive behavioral health organization. We serve children through older adults with mental health, substance use, and developmental disabilities across Western Wayne counties, and really excited to now be in downriver communities as well. Give us a call at 734-458-4601.
Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle D. Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
For over 60 years, Fairway Packing Company has provided Michigan's finest restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef, Wagyu beef, and dry-aged beef. Experience the Fairway difference for yourself today. Visit the steak shop in Grosse Pointe Woods for grab-and-go steaks or visit fairwaypacking.com.
It's the Morning Woodward Show. Thank you guys for sticking with us. We're on here on the Woodward Sports Network. Don't forget to hit the like button on the stream. It does help support the show, the network, and its entirety. We got plenty to talk about for the Lions here. I mean, we're just almost an hour through the show, and there's plenty more to get to. I want to spend some time now to talk about Aiden, his performance yesterday, your thoughts on it, and I want to read this comment because I think it really sets the tone here for how people feel, and this is where I'm not going to go. And I forgot where the comment is specifically because people are chiming in here with their thoughts. But I'll just kind of say what I saw. It's not the exact comment, but essentially what was said was, "Hey Jeff, you didn't watch the game? I mean, Aiden Hutchinson was held all game." Okay, is that why he didn't even sniff Geno Smith? Is that why? Because he was held all game, didn't even hit him. That's why he was being doubled and being held up by backup tackles. That's why he didn't get a quarterback hit. Come on, guys. Oh, come on! That was disappointing. He's your number 2 overall pick. It's a guy that we foresee being a top 10 edge rusher. That performance yesterday is inexcusable. I don't give a damn what the excuse is. You're the number 2 overall pick. I thought he'd get a sack or 2. Ryan Ermanni said 2 sacks. I know, Michigan fans, you guys feel a little higher, but I felt like a sack was a given. You got to get a sack yesterday. This defensive line was struggling to get pressure as it is. No Pascal, and I was upset about that. Ali McNeil, wasn't really, and that's why the whole Jalen Carter thing comes up, because Aleem wasn't really generating a ton of pressure either from the in the interior there. So Aiden's the guy. Houston goes out. It's up to Aiden. Aiden, we need a big play. We need you and what you looked like the last game against the Packers, what you looked like last week, generating pressure on a consistent basis. Does this define Aiden Hutchinson's season? No. Does it define his career? No. But to be objective here, Sam Flannel, that wasn't a great game by Aiden and this defensive line. It's not just Aiden, but he's the best player on your defense, arguably. That's inexcusable. It just is.
I wouldn't even say arguably. I'd say Aiden Hutchinson is 100% the best player on this defense. And I absolutely hate that the first thing that people are going to point to is, oh my God, Aiden Hutchinson was getting held. He got held on that game-winning touchdown pass to Tyler Lockett. Here's the problem, and Jeff, you addressed this earlier, but I'm going to address this very, very briefly. I don't want to hear a word about the refs. If anything, the calls went in the Seahawks' favor because
they had more penalties.
They did. They had 9 penalties to the Lions 4, and the Seahawks had 80 penalty yards to the Lions 24. So I don't want to hear it. Those are numbers. Those are facts. I don't care about your feelings. But this is the thing about Aiden Hutchinson, and you addressed it beautifully. Aiden Hutchinson, it wasn't all his fault that the Lions defensive line didn't get a ton of pressure. The interior could have done some more. James Houston went out. Charles Harris was out there. Like everybody, John Kaminsky, they all deserve a, no pun intended, lion's share of the blame. But Aiden Hutchinson is a guy, and we talked about it before. The Seahawks were without their top 2 tackles. And this was an offensive line that really wasn't that great in the first place.
Yeah, and their starting center left the football game.
Evan Brown, who we know very, very well. Do you mean to tell me that the Seahawks were actually stashing 2 backup tackles on the offensive line that were better? Or maybe Aiden Hutchinson just didn't play his best game? Because when it comes to Aiden Hutchinson, I believe he should get a little bit of grace for having the rookie year that he did, because he had a very, very successful rookie year. And if it wasn't for guys like Sauce Gardner, or you could even throw in Tariq Woolen, Aiden Hutchinson would have been the best rookie defensive player last year, no doubt about it. But it also leads to expectations, and I've been very, very high on Aiden Hutchinson and his potential and what he was even going to do this year. I believe he can have the impact of like a Watt, or a Bosa, or a Micah Parsons, or a Myles Garrett, or even a Khalil Mack, or even a Hassan Reddick. I think that Aiden Hutchinson is a guy that should be and will be mentioned with the likes of those someday. And what do I always say about edge rush play overall? It's a phrase that I believe I coined. It's not all about sacks, but it is a little bit about sacks. And the guys that I just mentioned put up double-digit sack seasons every single year. 15, 16, 17. In the case of J.J. Watt, even 20. In the case of T.J. Watt, 20. In the case of Nick Bosa, 18. So the fact that Aiden Hutchinson was not able to get a quarterback sack or even a hit. When you look at this, the Lions defense gave up 30 points. Obviously, there was a pick 6 involved as well. When you do that and your best player doesn't play his best game, he's going to get some of the blame. And Aiden Hutchinson did not show up. It looked a lot like some of the games early season last year.
Well, Sam, to that point, too, you beat Kansas City last week. Who do we talk about?
Aiden Hutchinson played well.
Exactly. Like, it's not, people just act like this is a poo-poo fest at Aiden Hutchinson. No, dude, you have to be objective, guys. And this is the problem I have. We're not just Lions fans, we're just fans in general in the NFL. Like, it's hard, especially we're in this market. It's mostly Lions fans tuning into the stream. And if you say anything bad, it's like, oh, you guys are overreacting. Did we watch the same football game?
You gotta hold people accountable. You gotta hold yourself accountable.
You
That's
have
what it comes down
Does
to.
this mean the season's over? No.
We're in week 2.
We're in week 2. I think the Lions are still going to win the division. Actually, if you look at, I have it right here on my notes. I went through the schedule and picked W's and L's. I had them 1-1 through 2 games. So I'm not shocked. Doesn't mean I can't talk about what I saw yesterday, which wasn't the performance I was expecting out of Aiden Hutchinson. It just wasn't. And the defensive line. You have to be objective. Like, overreacting, like, to what? The defense looked bad. Is that an overreaction? No. Now, is it fixable? Of course. But, and Luke, I want to go to you on this because I want your thoughts, because Dan kind of talked about this in the press conference. The over pursuit. That's what Aiden did last year, right? And you saw it yesterday, over pursuing and allowing Geno to step up to escape. You have to be able to contain these guys in the pocket. and they just weren't able to do that to Geno Smith yesterday.
Yeah, and it wasn't only just Aiden Hutchinson, it was a linebacker core as the DB. It comes down, yesterday came down to coaching. Aaron Glenn needed to have those guys prepared better than what they were. If you see something that's continuously happen, if you see Alex Anzalone is consistently missing tackles in the open field, if you see Aiden Hutchinson is consistently whiffing, if you see CJ Gardner-Johnson in the red zone is kind of making some critical errors that are giving up touchdowns in back-to-back games, adjust it. Adjust it. Do something different. Come with the second half adjustments to stop all of that. Derek Barnes was playing a great game. In that opening half, Derek Barnes was phenomenal. Why wasn't he on the field more? If you have a guy that, I understand Anzalone had that sack, and he was one of the better players for the line just because defensively yesterday, there was not much to show for it. But if you keep over pursuing like that, it's going to create plays, and it's going to make your secondary look even worse than they already are in that game. You can't do it, and it comes down to, it's literally all it comes down to, is coaching. Coaching and watching film and showing your players, we can't do this anymore, and instilling it into their head and showing drills of how not to do it, of how not to do that. It's coaching.
It's a game of adjustments, and the Seattle Seahawks just made more adjustments, and it ended up paying in their favor, especially going to overtime there. But Gabby, I'll go to you on this. Aiden Hutchinson yesterday, your thoughts on just how he played. You were there at Ford Field.
I think we had talked about this last week, that this was his opportunity to step up to the plate and really... We've been wanting to see what he's capable of. You know, we saw him get bigger over the offseason. We saw his performance last year. We saw the adjustments made towards the end of the year. And those should be solidified by the start of this season. And for how good he looked in training camp consistently, it's disappointing to see him not living up to those expectations in this game and not making those adjustments. And you can't use the mistake of this, you can't use the phrase of this is his first year anymore.
Right.
Those kinds of mistakes you can't make in your second year.
No, especially the over pursuing. Like that's something you saw a lot of it. And now I get he was doubled, right? Like that's obvious. We watched the football game. He was doubled. He was getting chipped. That's what they do to your better defensive players. You have to overcome that. You have to find a way to make a play. Like Aiden had ample opportunities, right? You're going up against two backup tackles. Now that's partially on coaching, right? Adjustments, moving Aiden around. I didn't see a ton of that. Like there's other things you can point to, but JB, your thoughts on the number 2 overall pick, Aiden Hutchinson?
I mean, obviously this wasn't his best game. We all know that, and no one is jumping off the bandwagon. But as Lucas said, people have to be held accountable for the actions that happen on that field. It's constructive criticism right here, and we're all giving Aiden that constructive criticism. It wasn't your best game, but we do see the effort and the motor out there because he just was unrelentless. He was still trying to go after Geno Smith and get him, but he was just a second too late or a half second too late, and Geno got the ball out. So yes, this was a terrible game for him, but we still see that, hey, you can do this. You still can play at a high level. You just need a little bit more adjustment. I mean, if Aaron Glenn can, cook up something, I don't know, but there needs to be some kind of defensive adjustment as well too. So this is hand in hand. They go both together with Aiden and AG.
Well, and it's getting pointed out in the chat, and this is 100% fair. That it's obviously not all on Aiden Hutchinson. He just being your best player on defense. Certainly, he's going to get a lot of the blame for not stepping up and really kind of like putting this defense on his back. But here's one thing that scares me, and it should scare every single person in this room, and this especially holds true with James Houston being hurt and being out for multiple weeks. It's a significant injury. This Lions defensive line, as we stand right now, is significantly worse on paper than it was at the end of last season. We're talking about, Aiden Hutchinson is still there, but James Houston isn't there. Broderick Martin, who you drafted in the 3rd round, hasn't played a down. Isaiah Buggs has not played a down. We're counting on, when it comes to secondary pass rush, a guy like Charles Harris, who only played 6 games last year and had a sack, and besides for 2021 has been 100% a flop in the NFL. We're talking about John Kaminsky, a guy that we all like in this room, but had 4 sacks all of last season. I for one am very, very concerned about the defensive line and the depth and the high-end play besides for Aiden Hutchinson. And let's just hope that it doesn't become a thing going forward. And that is why I think it was imperative for Brad Holmes to do more in the offseason to address the defensive line. I'm not saying that Brad Holmes is a bad GM.
No.
He's the best GM in Detroit Lions history, and he has made a lot of great picks. But that defensive line is not looking so good right now.
No, and you know what, Sam, I actually agree with that too. As much as I love Brad, and I will not deny he's probably the better, if not the best GM in Lions history, I'll state that. They're also, again, you have to be kind of objective here with who he's brought on this defensive line. We always say a lot of depth, but like the level of talent, though, is pretty clear. Like, it's Aiden and then a lot of guys that are kind of grouped in the same category. I think James Houston is just below Aiden. He's a hell of a talent, but he's out for 6 to 8 weeks. Who's going to step up? Is it Aleem McNeil? That was many people expected him to have a huge year. We haven't really seen we've seen him effective against the run, but actually generating a pass rush besides Aiden, they don't have anybody, and I think that goes back to Brad Holmes as well. We'll see. I mean, in the future, they have to address that. Whether it's free agency or making a trade, you need more help on this defensive line. You just do. You just do. Even if Pascal was there, like, they need help. They do. They need another guy that the offensive line has to account for consistently, like a Houston, but someone that's going to be there every down. A guy that you can't just double team Aiden because so-and-so will get loose. They don't really have that. And stop Aiden and we'll figure out the rest of the guys.
He's the easy one to pick on because I think so many people expected so much of him this season, and like having the excuses last week of, the timing of the calls and not getting those penalties called against him when they're clearly like stacking up against Aiden Hutchinson the way that they were. But this week, you have to look at the entire defense and not just him. So you did make a good point, Flannel. It's not just Hutchinson. Mm-hmm. It is that whole core and the adjustments that they have to make going into next week.
Yeah, and as we mentioned before, injuries play a factor. There's definitely going to be no Pascal or no James Houston next week, and moving forward, definitely no James Houston, and we don't know how long Josh Pascal is going to be out. All I know is that at some point, we're going to have to see like Broderick Martin or maybe even Isaiah Buggs on the field, because this defensive line, Romeo Okwara is another one that's just a healthy scratch. Eventually, we're going to have to get contributions from them, and because right now, like I said, one of the reasons why this loss to me was so deflating is because not only did they lose a game they should have won, but they're coming out limping.
And I want to read this comment too. Ryan's reactions. Thanks for the $5. Shout out to him. He says, if we win that OT coin toss, we won that game. Actually, that's my problem, Ryan, that you left it in the hands of a coin toss.
Yep.
That's my problem. Like, I get that. But the fact that you just said, hey, we'll settle on basically the odds will win a coin flip is actually, I don't feel bad for Lions at all. Like,
you could have stopped the Seahawks.
Well,
I know. It's a coin flip.
That's my problem, and I'm going to be consistent with that. Like, I get what you're saying, Ryan, because if they get the ball first in OT, they go win that game. But you, Dan Campbell, chose to put it in the hands of a coin toss. That's what you get. So I don't feel bad for that at all. You had plenty of chances to win that game at the end. They decided, you know what, F it. We have 2 timeouts left. We'll just go to OT instead of taking shots and trying to win that football game again. That's the cost of making those decisions. But anyway, we'll go to break. When we come back, I want to take phone calls. I'll put the number in the chat. You guys can feel free to chime in. I want your thoughts on it. Are we out of pocket? Do you have more to chime into? We'll find out when we come back from break. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at Big Boy, because burgers and chicken sandwiches are taking over at Big Boy. It's burger time. Try the best cheeseburger or their new pretzel bacon cheeseburger. Craving chicken? Well, try the Dolly chicken sandwich, or turn up the heat with Bob's Hot Chicken Sandwich. Upgrade your regular fries with their chili cheese and loaded baked potato fries as well. All that and more at Big Boy.
Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot-off-the-press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
Gabby is a college student struggling to study for her big exam. Then she discovered Syntron, a healthy way for her to stay awake and focus. Jennifer frequently has chaotic days like this until she gets online, orders some Syntron, and finds her groove. April visited her local grocery store, purchased a case of Syntron, and entered to win the Syntron 100K Vegas giveaway. Pick up your case of Syntron today at any Meijer location or visit drinksyntron.com/Vegas and enter for the 100K Vegas giveaway.
Calling all landscapers, how would you like to landscape like a legend? Register for your chance for 4-time Stanley Cup winner Darren McCarty to work your crew for a day. That's right, Darren McCarty on your zero-turn weed whipping and edging for your favorite clients. Sign up today at OutdoorEquipco.com. That's OutdoorEquipco.com.
Welcome back to the Woodward Sports Morning Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Now, I want to get to some comments here before we get to the phone calls because people are calling in here, and I want to get your guys' thoughts. I'm going to leave this segment for you, the people. I want to hear from everybody. Denver Blair says, I'm very impressed with you guys today and not patting the Lions on the back. They don't deserve it. They need to know that that was an absolutely horrible performance. Yeah, like this isn't, again, we can have fun when it's time to have fun, but when it's time to talk about the Lions, we're going to be objective. Like, I'm not going to ass kiss after a loss. Like, you can point out positives. There were positives in that football game. I talked about them. Jared Goff, besides the pick six, played a hell of a football game. Right? Amon-Ra, 100 yards. David Montgomery was solid.
He played solid. And I don't want, and
like,
can I make a small note real quick?
What's up? What's on your mind?
I don't want to hear people saying, oh, David Montgomery, the best availability is availability. The man caught a 6-7 yard hitch route, moved the chains, and then tried breaking a tackle, and he had his ankle absolutely being held onto, and he's trying to spin out of a tackle. You can't just be like, oh, fault David Montgomery for that. No, like the man was trying to break to get extra yards, which the Lions desperately needed, and he got hurt. He will be back. He'll be fine. I don't want to hear anything David Montgomery slander about him being hurt because I've already seen it a couple of times in the chat.
I actually like David. Now, the problem, though, is if David goes out, who do you got?
Well, I mean, we had the number 12 overall pick.
It should be Jahmyr Gibbs. And then here's the problem, because Flannel, actually, again, this is weird. I'm agreeing with me and Flannel are on the same page today in a lot of things. And that whole Jahmyr Gibbs thing, that's his opportunity.
Yeah.
2.5 yards per carry, it isn't enough. He didn't show that explosive ability. And again, it is one game. He's on a bus. I'm not going to go that far. But again, it's not out of pocket to say you expect more out of the 12 overall pick. It just isn't. Now, in the receiving game, okay, that's fine, but rushing, it just wasn't enough.
But it's early.
And I'm concerned if David goes down. If Craig Reynolds is out there, man.
Let me ask you guys this. Are you guys worried about, because we also have to remember, Jahmyr Gibbs is 2 games into his career. We can't be throwing away the Jahmyr Gibbs draft pick right now.
No, I'm not doing that.
And I know you guys aren't really saying that to this point, but my question is, do you think this is more on Jahmyr Gibbs, or it's, again, on the coaching not utilizing Jahmyr Gibbs, the weapon that they said they could use in multiple different ways, and we still haven't seen it yet? And I don't think that has anything to do with Jahmyr Gibbs. I think it has to do with coaching, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts.
I mean, I would say that it's a combination of both, because obviously Jahmyr Gibbs is a guy that you have to get in space. And for the record, I actually was singing Jahmyr Gibbs' praises in a lot of ways after week 1. He busted off a couple of big runs. He had a catch for a first down, but I still was like, they need to get him involved a little bit more. But then in this game, especially with David Montgomery going out, what did I say at the very beginning of the show? With David Montgomery in there, he was just like keeping the Lions ahead of the chains. He was just hammering the ball down. Other than that fumble, he was very, very good. But once he went out, that running game was pretty much stagnant. It did a whole lot of nothing.
And that's concerning.
That is concerning. He's the number 12 overall pick. And I know there's going to be people saying like, oh my God, it's his second game. He's not an every down back. It's early. And I hate to do this. How did Bijan Robinson look at his in his second game? And I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm starting to think, and this is not a Brad Holmes slander segment, that if he thought that Jahmyr Gibbs was a better prospect than Bijan Robinson, which he has said, he might be hitting that dispo a little bit too hard because Bijan Robinson's elite.
Let's get to the people, JB. Send him through. Who do we got?
All right. Can you guys hear me first off?
Yes, I can.
All right, cool, perfect. All right, I will send you guys Joey first.
Joey, welcome to the morning show. What's on your mind? Joey? All right, we lost Joey. Yeah, I get it. It's frustrating. It's Monday morning. I think we lost him, but regardless.
No, can you hear him?
No, yeah, I can hear him.
No, I can't hear him.
Can you hear him now?
No. You guys can hear him?
Yeah, I can hear him.
Yeah, I can hear him.
We'll talk to Joey then. I mean, I just because I can't hear him doesn't stop it. No, I can't. I can't hear Joey. Damn it. It's not Joey's fault.
Yeah.
It's fine. Yeah,
try calling back, Joey.
In Denver, people in the chat are saying they can't hear him. So yeah, we can't either. So it's okay. Regardless, we'll wait for we'll get some more people on the line. But I do want to say a couple things here because the poll is in the chats live. Are you nervous about Aaron Glenn going forward? And Lucas put this up. He should be on the hot seat. Nervous, but we
Yeah,
but
there was a
have
typo
not,
there.
Yeah, what?
I don't know what happened there.
What the Toledo is this?
Frustration. That's frustration right there.
Nervous but not hot seat time. Whatever.
Nervous but not hot seat time is what it's supposed to say.
It's week 2, relax, and it's pretty even across the board. I think coaching is definitely up there when you talk about blame. Now it's on the players, but the adjustments or the lack thereof this game was pretty evident. People chiming in too. Bruce says Gibbs needs to be more implemented in the offense. I think in the receiving side of things, he was. In rushing, he had 7 carries, which I think is about right. 7 to 12 for Gibbs is going to be the average, but you got to do more with those opportunities. I think that's not it's not crazy to say. Brad says I was much more concerned about the defense as a whole. What are the solutions? Whereas Houston Ben, well, he's on IR now, 6 to 8 weeks, so that's unfortunate. Zach says, even when Monty went down, would have gave Gibbs the ball because they don't trust him. You mean they wouldn't have give Gibbs the ball because they don't trust him? I think they trust him. They just don't want to run him into the ground, right? The Eagles gave DeAndre Swift 20-something carries. That's not who Gibbs is. You're not going to give him 20-plus carries. But to Sam's point, you expect to see the explosive ability like you saw week 1. You got 7 carries, but he had 40-something yards. It's like 6 yards a carry. Great, I'll take that. But if you get 7 carries and you only get 17 yards, it just isn't good enough. The run game, I am concerned because last year we saw it when Swift went down. It was Jamal Williams, and he was able to keep it up. But there was times where that run game was just disappeared. Especially with this offensive line, that just can't happen.
Despite what Jahmyr Gibbs brings to your team, theoretically, in catching the football out of the backfield, which I would argue he hasn't even shown a lot of yet, because in week 1 he had 2 catches, and in week 1 he had 2 catches, and in week 2 he had 7, but only for 39 yards. That's not exactly what you bargained for when it came to Jahmyr Gibbs catching the football out of the backfield. Despite all of that, even if he lives up to that, you can't draft a running back's number 12 overall and then not even give him 10 carries. And I get it, it's early, and they're not trying to run him into the ground, but David Montgomery went down. David Montgomery was, the running game pretty much was humming while he was in there, and with Jahmyr Gibbs, it was pretty much non-existent, and of course Craig Reynolds as well. And that concerns me a little bit, especially considering, and the reason I'm saying all of this is because the Lions dropped a game that they should have won. The Lions dropped a game that could hurt them in terms of seeding at the end of the year. And when stuff like that happens, you have to look back as to why. Who didn't step up? Which coaches failed? Which defensive players failed? And I think Jahmyr Gibbs, whether it was him or his utilization, that was a negative on week 2. It wasn't in week 1, but on week 2 it was, and it's fair to call that out.
And Mike Bell says these guys say Monty played well when he fumbles coming out of half. That was a backbreaker.
But that was bad, though. It was bad.
We already noted the fumble was detrimental. It was bad. But besides that,
and not to
Monty was solid.
Going back to that fumble, a lot of NFL running backs might cough off the ball, or right when they get the ball, there's a defensive end linebacker right in their face because the tight end whiffed the block. He had no reaction time. He's still trying to get the fit and carry it and move it over. And when you get hit like that, you're a vulnerable spot as a running back. That fumble, I understand it's going to go on David Montgomery, but that just goes down to blocking, in my opinion. You can't do that. You can't just be absolutely blown up on the edge inside your own 20. And let your running back fumble. Again, there has to be some accountability for David Montgomery, but you also have to wonder, why the hell was that guy 3 yards in the backfield, not even a second into the play? You also have to ask yourself that, too.
And I love this comment, too. Justido says, Jeff, you said Swift wasn't a 20-plus carry back when he was here, but now he's in Philly. I'm telling you, give him 28 for 7 weeks. See how that goes. He is not a 28 carry back. He did it in 1 football game. I don't think he gets 28 the rest of the season or close to it. DeAndre's not a guy that can withstand 28 carries a game. If you can't understand that, I don't know what to do. That's just it. I know people think any running back, they could be workhorses. Some guys just aren't built for that. I think Jahmyr Gibbs, similar mold. He's not a guy you're going to give 30 carries to. No. Derrick Henry, Bijan Robinson will be a guy that you can give 25-plus carries to. DeAndre Swift's not that. You got 1 game. Give him an entire season of 28 carries. He'll be on IR by week 5.
Sure, and the week before, DeAndre Swift certainly didn't get 28 carries, him and his 3 yards rushing. But this isn't the time to slander DeAndre Swift, because in week 2, to be fair, he did play well.
He did.
He was unbelievable.
He played great. Him and Swift are similar in that aspect of 2 guys you're not trying to. They're more just weapons. Now Swift hasn't been available in Detroit. We'll see how it goes with the Eagles in a contract year. And Gibbs, it's only his 2nd game of his career. I don't know what to expect. He could have an injury history like Swift as time goes on, but we don't have that yet. He's healthy. You're expecting him to, in one of these games, very soon to kind of pop off and show why you took him 12. But we shall see there. And I'm going to read some more of these comments here because people, man, the chat is flying. People have a lot on their mind here. Mike Bell says, history has shown that Monty isn't either, though, Jeff. I mean, he's gotten 20 carries more than Swift has, so I don't know what that means. He's a guy that
he was literally a bell cow back in Chicago. What are we talking
I don't know.
about?
And he's
here?
like, what was he, 5'11", 200 and something pounds?
Yeah, the dude's
like,
a bruiser. Like,
yeah,
he's the definition of a bell cow back to keep you ahead of the chain to do exactly what he was doing yesterday. There should be absolutely zero David Montgomery slander today. I'm sorry. There's about 10 different other fingers you can point to besides David Montgomery, in my opinion, before you get to him. I understand he fumbled, hold accountability there, but there's a lot more glaring spots in this roster, and after yesterday, too.
In this comment, too, because people Eduardo says, if Atlanta isn't a bounce-back game this season, is basically over. Yeah. I mean, it's not over, but you make your chances of winning the NFC North. And I said this earlier, thank goodness the rest of the NFC North lost. Thank goodness, because the Packers could have went 2-0, been leaders in their division. Jordan Love had 3 more touchdown passes, by the way. But regardless, look at that graphic. Everybody in the NFC North lost. Thank goodness for the Lions. Now you're tied for first there, and you got the Packers coming up pretty soon in a couple weeks here to kind of break that mold and now start getting some divisional games. But besides that, you got to win this week against Atlanta. And this is kind of the up-down theory in the NFL. The Falcons are 2-0. They're not a 2-0 team, in my opinion. We'll see. They got to lose eventually, and I think this week against the Lions have to win this game. They just do.
Sure, and I know we're going to expound on it way more as the week goes on. But yeah, the Lions, I do expect them. I'm not going to say I expect them to, but they definitely need to bounce back and get a win at home versus Atlanta, or else I have some serious doubts about this team. Because after that, they have to go to Lambeau, to Green Bay, a team that actually I think could pose a threat in the NFC North. But I'll tell you what, that Falcons game does not look like much of a gimme anymore. I mean, they showed me something with the way they came back from 24-12 down to beat Green Bay 25-24, and Bijan Robinson, he looked absolutely phenomenal. I know they have Desmond Ridder as their quarterback, and he is somebody that I really, really, really hope to God doesn't torch the Lions, because that would be embarrassing. But Bijan Robinson is a problem. He had 172 yards from scrimmage yesterday, including 126. It was 124 rushing yards. The dude is legit, and he could be a problem if the Lions don't shape up. Bijan Robinson will kill you.
Yeah, I mean, Bijan. That run game in Atlanta looks pretty damn good.
Yeah.
With Tyler Algier and Bijan, you got Desmond Ridder as a mobile quarterback. The Lions have shown, at least so far, they've been great against the run, which I got to give credit to the defense for that. It's solid against the run, but again, pass coverage, that was a disaster, to say the least. We'll go to break. When we get back, I do want to bring up the ski masks and have that conversation. We'll bring up the video that came out from the Seahawks locker room wearing the ski mask. You know what? You signed up for this. And I know Sam Flannel's got some thoughts on this as well, and me and him went back and forth last week about it. And I'm going to stay consistent. I think Flannel will too, so it'll be a good conversation. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at Planet Fitness, because it is the home of the judgment-free zone where anybody, and I mean anybody, can feel comfortable and work on their fitness goals. All you got to do for more information or to join is visit your local Planet Fitness or www.planetfitness.com. No matter where you are, there is a Planet Fitness nearby. There are more than 50 in Metro Detroit and thousands more throughout the world.
Brace yourselves, Detroit. As the sun begins to set, 2 of Woodward Sports' brightest young stars will be taking the mic for a brand new show. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder. The dog days in Detroit are over, and the boys are unleashed. Join in on the banter and hop on the bandwagon of the #1 night show on the internet. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel every weeknight from 8 to 10 p.m. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder.
Come to any Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men for an award-winning haircut experience from one of our talented stylists, and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win an all-expenses-paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament for you and 5 of your best buds. That's right, college basketball's most elite event. You and your 5 best friends just get to any Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically register to win the trip of your dreams. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. Lady Jane's, it's wicked awesome.
Join Woodward Sports' own Jeff Iafrate, along with special WSN guests for the most anticipated Lions season in decades. Filled with different surprises and expert analysis. You're not going to want to miss out. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Sundays and tune in live from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m.
Brand new state-of-the-art sports dome field house has a regulation basketball court, volleyball court, and soccer field. Also can be used for 7-on-7 football. Different features includes a free breakfast and lunch for your child, learning street, small classroom sizes, and much more. All you got to do to sign your child up today is theacademywarren.net. Oh my goodness. Should have been the Lions doing that celebration, I'll tell you that. But the Seahawks, they take advantage of the ski masks at Ford Field. The people showed up all over the tailgates. We were there walking around Eastern Market. Everybody had their ski masks on. The defense was trying to take one, right? Get the turnover ski mask ready. Well, you didn't have a turnover. You didn't need to put that thing on. It was collecting dust on the sideline. But I'll go to you, Sam, first, because I know how you feel. The ski mask thing.
Yeah.
Did it come back to bite the Lions in the ass?
Absolutely it did. 100% it did, exactly as I thought it might. And I expected the Lions to win this game. And I know when the ski mask thing first came out, I was very, very rough on it. I was hard, fast against it. But on Friday, I did soften up just a little bit because of the idea of a turnover ski mask for maybe the players to wear it. I thought that might be kind of cool because other teams do stuff like that and it's kind of good team building and unity. And also, I also said if the Lions win games, I will be okay with it because I'll just be so happy that they win. And as long as they win games, the fans, anybody can do whatever they want. But when I saw that video of the Seahawks kind of mocking the whole ski mask thing and putting out that video, I thought to myself, we deserve this. We deserve every single bit of that smoke, because if I were the Seahawks, I would have used that as motivation coming into this week. I would have said, I want to rip that ski mask right off of everybody's face and put it on myself and rub it in the face of Lions fans. And first and second of all, that whole turnover ski mask thing, I mean, how many did the Lions defense force? Well, 0.0, to quote a very fine man on the audio drop. 0.0. I mean, look at the
lot of greens there.
Look at what Geno Smith did right there.
Wow. Yeah, he carved them. It carved them up everywhere.
I mean, while the Lions were giving the ball away left and right, they had three. One of them was a fumble right before the half that didn't really count, and two turnovers on down. So the Lions were the ones too busy giving the football away as well. So to me, at this point, the ski mask thing should be dead and buried. Throw them all into the Detroit River. Maybe not that, because that would cause a pollution problem, but just put them all away, put them all aside to never be talked of again, because you lost. You lost this game. It was supposed to create this big, great home field advantage. The Lions, the Ford Field was talked about as being maybe the best home field advantage going forward in the NFL right now. And what did I say before? You have to actually win something before you're called that. You might be the loudest, you might be the rowdiest, but you know what else you are in your last 10 home games, Detroit Lions? 5-5, 500. So yes, this whole ski mask thing absolutely came back to bite the Lions. And I'm getting really tired of some of these Lions fans getting almost more indignant and doubling, tripling down and being just stop it. You lost.
Now, I want to read this comment because this is interesting. Lonnie Hooper says, who was in the cut there at the game where C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Jerry Jacobs were at, the Cass Tech vs. King game, and he said they said to him they would personally dominate. And, you know, it's kind of funny. I just thought I'd bring that up. Lonnie Hooper, shout out to you. Let's bring a caller through. Let's see if the phone lines, if they're tweaking today. We'll do it tomorrow. We'll spend more time talking to the people. But send them through. We'll see if it works.
All right, I'm going to try to see if this can work here. I'll send you your favorite, Jeff, Terrell from FL.
Terrell from FL. Are you there?
Nothing.
Damn.
Nothing?
I can't hear my king. That's messed up. All right, you know what? That's Terrell, man. I know he's going to bring some facts there, but you can't. The phone lines aren't working.
We'll get it tomorrow.
Yeah, let's spend more time tomorrow talking to people. I want to do that.
I have a little rebuttal for Mr. Flannel here with this face mask situation because I feel as though I have to defend it because I was one of the people in the crowd with a face mask on yesterday. Was on. Your point of they have to win in order to wear the face masks. Well, they did win last week, which incited this whole face mask thing. So I think moving forward, going with the face mask for this game is trying to run off that energy, build up that energy from last week and continue it into this week for what everyone hoped was going to be a win. Was it a win? No. Did I see face mask when we were leaving Ford Field? No. So I think the adjustment was okay, but I don't think that you can completely throw something away just because of one loss. I think that's kind of also like the jumping off the bandwagon thing. You have to support the team, and if this is going to be something that's going to stick around, fine, go for it.
Let him know, Gabby. Let him know.
Thank you. I think you can't just decide that you want to go against something just because something didn't go your way.
And I was kind of waiting because that's how I'm looking at it too. And I said this last week, Flannel, like you can't just be scared to do something because of what could happen if you lose, because we know if we would have won, the ski mask thing would have been even bigger. So like, you know the risk going in, so I don't want to sit here and say the ski mask thing was stupid or you shouldn't have done it, whatever. This is the price. You signed up for this, so you got to deal with the criticism, but it doesn't mean they shouldn't have done it at all. So
and I
guess
think,
I'm kind of split between
from what I've seen on social media, I don't think that CJ Gardner-Johnson's handling that all, like, the loss with the face mask negatively at all. I think he actually put out a tweet right after saying, like, he appreciated everyone showing out. Because that's what you still need. You still need to have the fans that, yes, we can sit here and we can, like, point out the corrections that need to be made, but we still at the end of the day are going to support the team, and this is going to be how we're going to do it moving forward potentially, and I'm fine with that. I think it's something that is different for the Lions organization that hasn't been done before, and it's also been a time in the Lions organization where people are supporting the Lions more now than ever, so why not?
But to your point, Sam, like, you got to win. Like, if they keep losing with ski masks, then it's gonna be bad.
Well, you also have to be able to take it when the Seahawks do something like that. Yeah. You have to. And you mentioned it earlier at the top of all this starting to come about. Like, people are going to laugh at you and people are going to make fun of you. And yes, but at the same time, I expect the Lions to do the same exact thing to another team if we beat them and they had something like this.
Of course. And that's the thing. You have to be able to take the medicine when it comes your way. And I feel like most fans, for the record, have. And I've been consistent. I didn't like the ski mask thing from the beginning. I came around a little bit coming into this game. My thing is, I think as fans, we have to adjust a little bit now that the Lions have lost.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of hopium coming into that game, and it was well deserved. They went into Arrowhead in week 1 and beat the defending Super Bowl champions. I thought for sure that the Lions were going to win this game. I thought there was no chance they could lose, but they did. And the Lions, I think, I'm not saying the fans, because the fans have nothing to do with the game. They all showed out and gave a phenomenal home atmosphere. But the Lions as a whole kind of have a little bit of egg on their face, which they could rectify and make right with a week 3 win, but it hasn't happened yet. And that's kind of my thing. The ski mask thing, I think it should be dead, but that's just me.
And we'll see if they wear the ski mask this week and you take on the Falcons and you pick off Desmond Ridder twice. Now everyone's happy with the ski mask again. So it's this up down. Now if you host a playoff game and you're
against
at Ford
Seattle
Field against Seattle and you're wearing the ski mask,
bring on Seattle in the playoffs.
So which would be great. The NFL would love that because storyline purposes.
Let's think about it. 49ers probably winning the NFC West. Seattle's definitely going to be a wild card team, and I still believe the Lions are going to win the NFC North. So it's going to be you already know that's what it's going to be. You already know it's going to be the Seahawks or the Cowboys. And I hope to God, the ski mask are still around, because at the end of the day, the ski mask thing, it's for the fans. The ski mask has nothing to do with how the players play on the field. Let it happen. Let this just fester. Remember the feeling of how disappointed we are right now, how mad we are, because it's not going to be like this throughout the whole season. If you think that way, stop being a victim. It's not the same old Lions. Stop complaining and complain. Realize it's the NFL. Shit happens. It's week 2. There's 15 more weeks. The Detroit Lions a week ago just went into Arrowhead and beat Patrick Mahomes. My bad, Campbellhead.
Okay.
So they go and let it breathe. Let it breathe.
You guys are
the camel head
ridiculous.
stuff. I'm just slowly trying to.
So one
trying to
Lions win
process.
takes away just basically
No.
an entire era of dominance.
No,
okay.
I'm just trolling.
Okay.
And by the way, yeah, I love the camel head. We got to get like shirts dude, with camel head, and just Patrick Mahomes' head.
Win something first,
yeah.
which the Lions have not. Hate to say it.
And you're right,
And
Flannel.
he does have a point there. Now I'll tell you what.
But I'm mean. I'm a big meanie.
Speaking of taking W's, I got a show that's coming out at nighttime, or it's already out, by the way. It's Woodward Nights with the boys, Broder and Booner. And those guys crush it every single night, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. I know they're going to have a ton of fun tonight. If you're tuning into Monday Night Football and you need something on your laptop or computer or, hell, even a TV, turn on Woodward Nights. They'll be breaking down the game live. We'll be breaking down the Lions game as well. Just two great personalities, up-and-coming guys that I appreciate a ton. So do me a favor, check those guys out, 8 to 10 nights during the week. Let's go to break. When we get back, we'll go through some NFL action all throughout the league, get our thoughts on maybe some things that surprised us, some things that didn't surprise us. I already know probably one thing Sam's going to bring up in that Atlanta game. That rookie, Bijan Robinson, I know he's going to bring up. Now, I'll tell you what, we'll go to break here. Could you tell us, everybody, about our friends over at Swiss Insurance?
Absolutely. Do you have football on the brain? Fall ushers in college and professional football, and this year is going to be awesome. Fall is also a perfect time to shop your home and auto insurance. Shop it like a pro with Swiss Insurance. They cover Woodward Sports Network, and they should be covering you too. Ask for Mark at Swiss Insurance today at swissins.com or call 248-800-4177. Again, that is 248-800-4177, Swiss Insurance.
Burgers and chicken sandwiches are taking over at Big Boy. Try our new pretzel bacon cheeseburger. Turn up the heat with Bob's Hot Chicken Sandwich. Upgrade those regular fries with our chili cheese fries or loaded baked potato fries. Hit your sweet tooth with funnel cake fries or Reese's chocolate peanut butter thunder cake. Load up on all your favorites today at Big Boy.
Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot-off-the-press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
Let me tell you about our friends over at Glorious Cannabis, because just in time for football, especially after yesterday's performance, it wouldn't hurt to spark one up there from Glorious Cannabis, the new Honolulu Blue strain, the ice water bubble hash infused pre-roll. I was told it smells very good. It's like the whiff of the first playoff win, hopefully, in 31 years. It's a gassy, aggressive strain named in the honor of Detroit football. If you haven't had one of those ice water pre-rolls, you're missing out. Find them at Dispo for 25% off, or check us out online at www.gloriouscanna.com. All right, let's get back to it. Let's go around the NFL here and talk about some things that maybe impressed us, some things that didn't impress us. Now, I'll start with something that I was not impressed with. Brandon Staley.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm talking to you, Brandon Staley. The fact that this dude holds a job over so many people, like specifically minorities, that are probably more qualified candidates than Brandon Staley, and he's 0-2 with that Chargers team, with that defense. They gave up 30-plus week 1, 27 week 2 against Ryan Tannehill and the Titans.
Ryan Tannehill looked good yesterday.
And
he did.
That's a problem.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's an issue. As a defensive coach,
Brandon Staley, this is bad. Brandon Staley is not qualified. He should be fired immediately. Ben Johnson is the guy that I think will take that job with Justin Herbert there. He should. But regardless, that's despicable what Brandon Staley put on TV yesterday. You're 0-2 with that team. The Raiders are 1-1.
I am
It's embarrassing.
so glad that you brought that up because, and here's what I know some people are going to do, including the person who leads Big D Energy, one Neil Rule. He's going to use this as an excuse to kind of slander Justin Herbert. But no, this was all on, both of these losses are 100,000% on that Chargers defense. And that was Brandon Staley's calling card. The Chargers have put up 29 points per game in the first 2 games and are 0-2 because their defense is giving up 31.5 per game, which would have been good for last in the NFL, like if you put that over a full season. So yes, Brandon Staley is a bum, and I am so upset with how his coaching is because Justin Herbert has actually played very, very well. I would say I'll go for a winner though. I'll tell you a winner, and this is a defense that actually did play really well. How about the Kansas City Chiefs defense?
Great.
They looked pretty damn good with Chris Jones being back. Chris Jones came right back in immediately and basically wrecked the game. He had a sack and a half, and they held the Jaguars to 9 points. An absolutely incredible performance. And if I have to go to another winner from the weekend, I'll give a couple players that I was very, very high on coming into the season. How about Nico Collins, a good Michigan man, having 7 catches for 146 yards and a touchdown. I said before the season that he was going to have 1,000 yards receiving, and through 2 games he's on pace for about 1,900. So that is, he's obviously not going to.
You know what?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't. And by the way, your Nico Collins take, it's looking pretty well.
Thank
but you know who else played effing amazing in that football game?
CJ Stroud did play well.
30 for 47,
Yep.
almost 400 yards.
No,
in
he
2
did.
teams.
I can't bash him for that.
He sliced up that Colts defense.
He played very well. I'm not going to say that he didn't. I can't hold him on that. He played well.
I love it. That's why I love you, Lucas. That's why I love you. You're objective, and that's why you speak the facts when they need to be spoken. Yeah, CJ Stroud looked damn good.
Yep.
Your guy Nico Collins, pretty damn good.
Absolutely.
I like Nico Collins a lot. Now I'll give you one thing that impressed me, and I want to bring this up. Besides CJ Stroud, because I was going to use that, but you kind of set me up there, threw me the alley-oop. Another one I want to point out. Can we give some love to Baker for a second?
Yeah.
And by the way, dude. No. And I'm not saying
Not saying the dude's a stud. We're not saying that. We're not saying that.
No, thank you. All I'm saying is, what the hell, man? This Bucs team, they could mess around and win that division. Like, I think that division winner is probably a 9 or 10 win team. I think the Bucs can sneak away 9 wins. I said that a couple weeks ago, and now they're 2-0. I get against 2 NFC North teams. I understand that. But Baker Mayfield, man, over 300 yards yesterday.
He looked a lot better than Justin Fields. Let me tell you that. That performance by Justin Fields, that was something. That was probably his worst performance he's ever played, in my opinion.
Yeah, DJ Moore got his 100 yards.
Yeah, but he also threw a pick 6 to Shaq Barrett on a screen pass inside his own 5-yard line.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, speaking of people who I did not like, I am making this declaration now. I am out on Justin Fields. Justin Fields is not an NFL quarterback. He absolutely sucks. And before the season, I was high on Justin Fields. I thought he was going to have a great year. And I could not be more wrong. Everything looks the exact same as it always has. He still can't read a defense. He still can't throw from the pocket. He still, in crunch time, does things like throw picks on a screen to Shaq Barrett to lose the game. Justin Fields sucks.
He's a great running back, though. Great running back.
Yeah. Let's shake.
Yes.
Well,
we were wrong.
Hold on.
We were wrong.
There's one more guy and letting get away with this. JB to the stand. Don't do it to him. JB, get on the stand, JB. You defended the Bears, and by the way, I can't get away with it either because you actually talked me into kind of thinking, okay, maybe the Bears can be. I want
because
you to
he is the voice of reason.
Yes, you're on the stand, JB. Your thoughts on the Bears? Your Bears, some would say.
Justin Fields is a great running back. I will give him credit for that. As far as quarterback goes, Bears need to look somewhere else. he is not the answer. There is collectively a above average amount of talent on the Bears right now, but without your floor general there, it's not going to amount to anything. You need someone else in that spot. And if you want to move Justin Fields to running back, I'm cool with that. Just find someone else. Someone else.
Well, there's certainly something that has a 100% approval rating, and that is the Lions pregame show. The Woodward Sports Lions pregame show returns for another season of Lions football. Join Woodward Sports host Jeff Iafrate with weekly special guests on the Woodward Sports YouTube channel. Whether you're sipping the Kool-Aid or kicking and screaming same old Lions, you will not want to miss this show live this Sunday from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., getting you ready for the Lions-Falcons game. It should be fun. It always is fun. Join us all season long for an action-packed Lions pregame experience. And you know who else? I mentioned him earlier. Bijan Robinson's a star. The only reason why he might not lead the NFC in rushing is because there's a guy named Christian McCaffrey who's got a pretty big head start right now. But Bijan Robinson, 19 carries, 124 yards, 4 catches for 48 yards, was the offensive MVP of a game in which the Falcons, they had a pretty big win themselves. And Bijan Robinson, like I said, the best running back prospect without a doubt since Saquon Barkley. And you know what? Bijan's going to be better than Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
What are you reading in the chat?
Well, I want to say too, for all the people that have been listeners of the morning show for quite some time, you know how I feel about Bijan.
Fuck!
What?
I want Bijan, man. At least the Lions took Bijan, man. I mean, I trust in Brad. I trust in everything. But could you?
I know.
David Montgomery and Bijan Robinson.
God.
Oh my! And I'm not the guy to do that. I was just getting mad at Flannel for saying that about.
It's all right, guys.
Jalen Carter.
Gibbs, hey.
Namaste.
Gibbs is gonna be fine. He's gonna be fine. He's a weapon. He's gonna be fine. He's gonna be
for
fine.
The love of Louis Riddick.
Louis Riddick.
The
football gods.
The football god, please.
Yeah.
Let's make it all okay. Make it all go away. Make everything okay. Let's just go back to week 1 again.
Absolutely.
Just go back to week 1.
There you go.
Can I shout out a couple more guys who played great games kind of under the radar that kind of more self-aggrandizing because I really like these players. How about Chase Young, a guy that I really wanted the Lions to go after.
I'm glad you brought him
He
up.
comes back in cold as his first game of the season off of injury, a sack and a half, 2 quarterback hits, a tackle for loss. Chase Young, a lot of people forgot about him. Coming out, he was a better prospect than even Nick and Joey Bosa was. Chase Young was a problem at Ohio State. He had a damn good rookie year. He's gotten forgot about and slept on because 2 years were basically ruined by injuries, but Chase Young is going to be a problem. And how about another one that I really, really like? And again, I've always been way higher on this player than the average person. How about Jadeveon Clowney having a huge game for Baltimore? He had a sack, a tackle for loss, and 2 quarterback hits. His play was a lot of the reason why the Baltimore Ravens actually won that game against everybody's messiah, Joe Burrow, by the way, and the Cincinnati Bengals. They're 0-2. But I'm sure all is fine in Cincinnati.
They started out 0-2 flat.
I know they did.
I think Bengals will be just fine.
I want to throw 2 more in the mix here before we go to break. Jordan Love, I know he's not, again, I'm not saying Jordan Love is going to be Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre, but just doing his job, 6 touchdown passes. We'll see how that progresses. They still took an L, and there you go. I know. You can play it all you want. It's embarrassing. But overall, that is so bad. I know.
Did he just slip? Like, I don't understand
Man
this.
just slipped. You see Tua?
On 4th and 1.
You see Tua slip, by the way, yesterday? Just going back.
Dude, in the middle of the second quarter of the Dolphins game, I was sleeping.
Yeah. So, again, Jordan Love, I got to say, I'm going to keep watching the Jordan Love storyline going forward. Another team, the Bengals 0-2. Only team in recent history, at least over the last couple of years, to start 0-2 and make the playoffs. They got to do it again. They're 0-2.
Bengals are not making the playoffs. I'm sorry.
They're not making the playoffs.
It's a problem. It's a problem.
One more thing before we go to break. Steve G writes in the chat, if Tua doesn't get a shout out, I'm leaving. I'll tell you what. I gave him a shout out for his week 1 performance. I'm not giving him a shout out for week 2. He threw 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Raheem Mostert had over 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Dolphins defense forced 2 Patriots turnovers on their side of the field, and they gave up 17 points. Tua was okay.
Here's something you got to give Tua credit, though. In his career, he's went into Foxborough 5 times.
Undefeated.
You know how many wins he has?
He's
5.
I know he's got a perfect record.
Give Tua his credit. Jalen Hurts looked a lot worse than he did with a very similar talented team than Tua did last week. So shout out Tua, shout out Mike McDaniels for sure.
I'll say this though, for all this love that Tua gets as a winner, how many playoff games has Tua Tagovailoa played in?
I think it's too early.
0.
You could say the same thing about your boy Justin Herbert too. I think it's too early right now to judge. You can't judge a second, third year quarterback on playoff wins unless they're taking them deep into the playoffs, and you'd be like, holy shit, that motherfucker right there.
But people call Justin Herbert mid. Justin Herbert,
they don't know what they're. If you call Justin Herbert mid, you don't know.
Justin Herbert has 97 career touchdown passes. Tua Tagovailoa has 56.
Yeah. I liked, but to Tua's credit though, guy just when he's in the football game, they win games. Like that's what he does well. Justin could put up numbers, and he's more of a talent than Tua. Got the size, the arm, the mobility, but Tua, man, I think people sleep on it. If he could just stay healthy, they could contend for their own division. But we shall see on that moving forward. Let's go to break here. Shout out to Jalen, by the way, from Woodward Knights for joining the chat there. Shout out to you. We'll go to break when we get back. We'll get to what's trending with Lucas and much more. But before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends over at Randy Wise, because how would you like to see famous athletes like Jim Harbaugh, Darren McCarty, Braylon Edwards play golf with average Joes? Well, thanks to our friends over at Randy Wise Automotive and Woodward Sports, you'll be able to do just that. It's the Randy Wise Celebrity Golf Tour. Make the wise choice and pay attention to Woodward Sports for more info soon.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle D. Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
Hey, this is Mr. Kearney, Chief Academic Officer at Academy of Warren. I want to welcome you to the brand new field house. The state-of-the-art facility has a regulation basketball court, volleyball court, soccer field. It can be used for 7-on-7 football. Our K-8 academic features AM, PM, latchkey, small classroom sizes, Learning Street, futuristic media center, free breakfast and lunch, Holton Mifflin curriculum, academic games, K-8 athletics, and more. Enroll today at academywarren.net.
How would you like to win a $100K Vegas getaway? Go with your friends to the city that never sleeps. It's the Cintron Energy. Drink it and live it. Purchase a 24-pack today and register to win the 100K Vegas getaway at drinkcintron.com/Vegas and buy Cintron at your local Meijer store. Cintron, the healthier energy drink with a great taste for the people who desire to look good and feel great and be the best versions of themselves. drinkcintron.com/Vegas.
We're back here. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. If you do us a favor, we're 20 likes away from 200. If you could hit that like button, it would be big time, man. Let's hit the 200 likes. It's probably the best we could do here on a loss on Monday. It'll make us happy if we get 200 likes. Let's get to what's trending with Lucas, but I want to say before we do that, Puka Nacua.
Say it, Flannel. What'd you call him earlier?
I called him Cooper Nacua or Puka Cup, whatever you want to say.
I went back and looked at Justin Jefferson's first 2 games because I was curious. I'm like, how does this happen? Justin Jefferson had, in his first 2 games combined, 5 catches, okay, for 70 yards. That's for 2 games combined. Puka Nacua is on a tear. His first 2 freaking games, bro. And Ryan Lentz was hyping him up last week. Ryan.
He didn't think this would actually happen again.
No, he did not. Ryan, you cannot call that.
He's gonna say.
By the way, Ryan does all our thumbnails. He crushes it. He's basically the heartbeat of all the production side of things.
Hell, I didn't think this would happen.
But Puka Nacua, Ryan, are you? Sorry. What's trending with Lucas?
Shout out Puka, baby.
Yeah, I had to shout out Puka Nacua. That's ridiculous.
No,
All right.
You guys saw the video earlier. I kind of played it for a second, but Jordan Love, 4th quarter of the game, 4th and 1. To seal the game, this is what he does. Jordan Love not only acts like he gets the snap, but he keeps falling forward. He's the only one. He's the one that knows the snap count more than anybody.
Almost tore his ACL.
Yeah, his guard almost went down. But my question is, after watching Green Bay, which loss was worse? The Lions losing to Seattle or Green Bay losing to the Falcons? Which loss was worse?
I mean, Green Bay was on the road, weren't they?
Yep.
I don't know. I didn't watch all of the Packers game to kind of see how atrocious the loss was. I just saw they lost by 1 point.
Falcons came back from 12.
I would say the Lions. They came back from 12.
The Falcons did. Yeah, they're down 24-12 at the beginning of the 4th quarter.
I think it's pretty close. I don't know. I think at home with the hype surrounding the Lions, it would be the Lions. That's embarrassing.
The Lions' loss, unfortunately, was infinitely worse. You had the fact that it was the home opener, and the fact that also there was, and I don't know how much it carries over from last year. You have the whole revenge factor. The Seahawks are basically the Lions' arch nemesis right now, and the Lions still can't beat them at home. home.
And I'm gonna say too, the ski mask thing, it did add to that. It's a more disappointing one.
And they got clowned, deservedly so.
Yeah.
At least after the game.
Yes, of course. What else you got for us, Lucas?
All right, so we just talked about Jordan Love, but the quarterback that he went up against, Desmond Ridder, the guy that the Lions are going to be playing up against this weekend, he had kind of an interesting press conference after the game yesterday.
It was so crazy. You guys looked like you were, kind of down for the count, and then you come back and you just kind of take us through the game.
Hold on. Never down for the count.
Okay.
Yeah, when you see the Atlanta Falcons out there, we'll never be down for the count. We're going to fight until that clock hits 0.
So a couple takeaways. Desmond Ridder is an odd-looking fellow, that is for sure. He's got an odd voice. But at home, in college, and in the NFL, the man's undefeated, 28-0. He's now going on the road to Detroit. Are you nervous about Desmond Ridder and just this Atlanta offense? And do you think that they're on the brink of maybe being a legitimate team in the NFL?
Tram says, if this guy picks us apart,
I swear to God. I swear to God.
Tram, I'm with you, bro. I really am. Trev says, man, if we don't pick him off at least once, I'm going to be pissed. Terry says Ritter's a clown. Don Beat says he looks like a car salesman. I don't want to get these jokes now. I don't, because if we lose, I don't want to put the energy out there. But if you lose to Desmond Ridder, it's going to be a problem. It will be. But yeah, Desmond, I like Desmond. I think he's solid, especially where they take him in the third round, second round, wherever they took Desmond Ridder. Winner, took the Cincinnati Wildcats to the playoffs, but I don't really know what to make of Ridder. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback. I think Atlanta's still looking for that, but maybe Ridder can grow into that. I don't know.
See, Desmond Ridder is my exact rebuttal to the reason why quarterback wins are not a thing. So I guess Desmond Ridder is having a great year this year because he's 2-0, and Justin Herbert is having a terrible year because the Chargers are definitely 0-2.
That's fair. That's fair.
But here's the thing. I mean, have you seen Bijan Robinson yesterday? Did you see what Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier did the game before? And did you see that Falcons defense only allowing 17 points a game in the first couple of games? Desmond Ridder is still mid. He's still not a problem. The problem, obviously, with the Falcons is in that backfield. But to be fair, the Lions defense, the one thing that they have done very, very well so far is shut down opposing teams' running backs. They shut down Kenneth Walker, besides for those 2 one-yard touchdowns. And their test with limiting Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier, which I think is obviously the strength of the Falcons offense.
Okay. JB, your thoughts on Desmond Ridder and the Falcons just as a whole?
Dude, does anybody realize that man is 24 years old? That is a rough-looking 24 years old. I'm just saying.
He's got a flat streak above his eyes.
He's 24 years old. That is a rough-looking 24.
Hey, he ain't no JB. You could say JB looks like he's 24 years old, but he is not.
Hey, black don't crack. Somebody had to say it, but man, that's a rough-looking 24.
Jeff was leading up to it, but not wanting to say it.
Exactly.
It's called the alley-oop for JB to slam it down. There you go.
As the person said in the chat, he looks like a car salesman. He looks like a car salesman on his second marriage with 3 screaming kids in the back. Like, my man looks like he's going through it.
The minivan parked in the back.
Exactly.
3 car seats.
I know JB just woke up ready to throw shots at Ridder. Is Ridder? I thought you'd be throwing shots at Kelsey's getting with your girl. I mean,
I mean, the Chiefs are never going to win a championship as long as Travis Kelce is dating Taylor Swift. So
JB's like Deion. He's like, that's personal. JB. That was personal what Travis did to JB there, getting after Taylor Swift. But is that all you got for us, Lucas?
That's all, baby.
Appreciate you, baby. Let's go to break. We get back with the mailbag and much more. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at SMA.
We'll need that today.
The sports marketing agency help spread awareness on mental health and substance abuse. Their podcast is the S Word, help spread the stigma about seeking help. If you or someone you know is struggling, head to thesportsma.com for more information.
Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot-off-the-press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
Brace yourselves, Detroit. As the sun begins to set, two of Woodward Sports' brightest young stars will be taking the mic for a brand new show. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder. The dog days in Detroit are over, and the boys are unleashed. Join in on the banter and hop on the bandwagon of the #1 night show on the internet. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel every weeknight from 8 to 10 p.m. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder.
Join Woodward Sports and Long Drink live this Sunday for the official Lions VIP tailgate party. It's at Eastern Market in Shed number 5, and it's going to be a bash. Starting at 9:30 a.m. until game time, the official Lions tailgate is back and better than ever. How would you like to pregame it with Woodward Sports and be treated like a VIP? Food, beverages, and entertainment all included. Get your tickets online today at bullseyeeventgroup.com or win some from Woodward Sports today. Just subscribe to our YouTube, follow us on Instagram, and direct message Lions VIP.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. If you haven't already, hit that like button. We do much appreciate it. I know you guys cleared 200 likes, so thank you for that. If you haven't already, hit the like button. It's mailbag time. Get your questions ready. We'll start with the away fan mailbag question yesterday. Shout out to the away fan, by the way. He's been loyal for a while here. Yesterday, I saw the Bears and the Patriots wear third jerseys. Who had the better third jersey? And am I missing any other teams that wore it for week 2?
Definitely the Patriots, bro.
Yeah,
Those
Patriots
Bears
are
uniforms
always-
are disgusting.
Yeah, well, the Bears, yeah. I always love the Patriots designs.
The Reds, yeah.
Yes, the Reds are sweet. So I'm gonna go with Lucas here. I agree with the Patriots.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Patriots as well. I just wish they would have played better in that game because I really wanted them to win, but oh well. Still clean uniforms.
By the way, man, Broncos. Sean Payton.
Did you see that Hail Mary?
Yeah, dude,
That was pretty nice,
I would
though.
imagine being in the crowd as a Broncos fan, just livid after that.
Look, I know the Lions just lost, but thank God we are not Denver Broncos fans. The last 2 years for them, at least they got their Super Bowl with Peyton and Elway back in the day. But my God, dark days ahead in Denver.
Can I just give one quick thing before you go on, Jeff? Obviously, Russell Wilson has not been good for the Broncos during his tenure, but I don't want to hear anything about Russell Wilson for that game yesterday. He led the Broncos to 33 points. He spotted them a 21-3 lead, and the Broncos defense gave up 35 to a Sam Howell-led offense. That was the reason they lost, not Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I agree with that. This question here, Steve says, what does need to do? Well, I get what you were trying to say to help fix this defense. Should he be calling around, meaning Brad, looking around for D-line help? I would say yes. Like if there's anybody available, not just anybody, but if there's somebody that you think you can go grab, then yes. If not, well, we'll see. I don't know who's out there. I know people bring up Sue. But is Sue going to join a 1-1 team? If you're 2-0 and you look like realistic contenders, maybe you can get Sue. But I think Sue's waiting around for the opportunity, right? A team that's like the Eagles last year. Like it's just too good to turn down. But we shall see. Maybe you can get Sue. Let's see. I saw another question here, and I wanted to address it because I know some people are feeling the same way, but I can't find it now. So now I'm frustrated. Moving on. Let's get to some more questions. Shot says, mailbag, if Campbell went forward on the last possession and took shots in the end zone but no TDs, would you have taken the field goal to head to OT or go for it on 4th down? I would have took the field goal, but after more chances of trying to score and win that football game, not putting the ball in harm's way, but still at least trying to win that. We've seen Dan be so aggressive when he needs to be, but then there's some instances where you'd like him to be aggressive and he isn't. So for me, it's just the picking and choosing. I get people say, well, if it works out or if it doesn't work out, then of course you're going to say something. But that's how I feel. Sometimes, like, for example, at the end of regulation, go for it. Like, try and get a touchdown, be aggressive, and he's passive.
Sure.
So that's what frustrates me a little bit.
I mean, they got the ball with about 1:50 left in good field position. They should have went for the win. They should have actually tried harder and not gotten conservative and not letting the clock run down. But at that point, if you try for the win, if you go for it and it's, say, I don't know, there's 3 seconds left and you're at the 13 or the 15, then you kick the field goal because you have no choice. You don't risk losing the game just to go for a touchdown.
Right.
But you try harder earlier on in the drive. You play with a little bit more urgency.
Let's see. Mailbag, John says, should Lions hire Deion Sanders if Campbell fails?
Oh my
fails?
God.
That's a joke, but still, no. By the way, we're going to talk about that.
Your brakes,
We're going to
bro.
talk about that Colorado team this week because what a win over the weekend too. Now they're
Ain't
undefeated.
nobody whooping us at the crib.
Well, they are, Dion. They just whooped us at the crib. So, thank you for that.
Come in your
Dion.
tack, take over your trap.
Yeah, they came to the crib and they handed the Lions the L. Steve says, Mailbag, should us Lions fans switch from blue mask to silver titty tassels? No. No, Steve. I would not suggest that. No. Let's see.
Gabby is not pleased with that.
That's appropriate.
That is not ideal. Let's see. John Lord says, Mailbag Flannel, it's just week 2. Calm down. Keep your emotions in check. I think you kind of have been, to be honest, today.
I mean, I feel like
you did a good job.
I feel like I'm 100% measured. What I'm not going to do, though, is just be like, everything's fine. It's a long season. The Lions gave that one away, and it could come back to bite us. There were a lot of losses from last year that you look back on, including the Seahawks, that you're like, damn, if we win that game, we probably make the playoffs. I'm not just going to be like, it's fine, because it's not fine. You lost.
Especially against an NFC team.
Yep. Demetrius Hurt says, Mailbag, should the Lions let Goff call the game? No. Ben Johnson called a pretty good game. I thought yesterday. Ben bounced back from week 1. Offense looked great. Jared, besides the pick 6, looked great, but no, there's no play calling on offense that needs to be changed. I don't think. Let's see here. Kalamazoo says, just tell Sam Flannel to get laid and he will melt down.
Oh, my goodness.
Say it, Flannel.
No.
I have a wife.
I have a wife. Let's see here. Let's see more questions. If you guys see any, let me know. I'm just gracing through right here.
What's your you know what? We might get to that in a segment later this week, so I'll say.
Yeah, David L. Is it what's your level of concern
Yeah,
about
yeah,
Montgomery's injury? I wasn't it just a thigh injury?
Yes.
Yeah, but still.
So that's probably better than a knee. When I first saw a knee injury, that's
Go get Kareem Hunt. Get Kareem Hunt. Get Kareem Hunt.
I don't hate
get
it.
Leonard Fournette.
I
get
really
somebody.
don't hate it. And that's the thing about the running back market is there's
Maybe.
guys out there. There are. Let's see. Shot says, Mailbag, why was Sam more hurt than when Chiefs lost, but is gloating when the Lions lose?
I'm not gloating. like
Shot strikes again.
Does it look like I'm gloating? I'm just calling it like I see it. I'm just saying that there were a lot of things the Lions need to clean up and that they didn't play very well. The one thing, I'm not going to say that I'm gloating about it. I'm not happy that I feel like I was proven a little bit right about the ski mask thing and that it did come back to bite them, which it did.
Yes.
And they got clowned by the Seahawks, as they should have.
Right.
That's it.
And Jay Hart says, Mailbag, Demo doesn't get the fumble if Laporta doesn't get blown up on the block. Rookie mistake won't happen again. See, Jay Hart sees the game.
That's fair.
Yeah. That's a ball nowhere right there.
We should be getting an injury report later today.
So tomorrow we'll go through all of that and react to some of that stuff.
And check in before the morning show tomorrow for some Lions insider information, and hopefully Matt Broder or Terry Foster will be down there getting the scoop.
No doubt. There you go. Steve G, Mailbag, Nick Bosa had 1 tackle. Aaron Donald didn't make the stat sheet. Quiet games happen, and no one mentioned Hutch's critical pass breakup. Make a play when it mattered.
True.
There was, and again, Steve, I get what you're saying, but you can't deny you expected a little more in that game specifically, right? You had 3 offensive linemen pretty much out. The Evan Brown returned, but he was injured. You had 2 tackles out. You just expected Hutch to be more impactful, but it is what it is. You're right, though. Bad games do happen. It's just unfortunate that it was that game. That's all it is. But regardless, plenty more to get to this week here on the Morning Woodward Show. We do appreciate every single one of you for taking time out of your Monday morning to tune into us. Wasn't it Overreaction Monday? I don't think so, but these things happen.
It's a tough Monday.
It's a tough Monday, no doubt, but they'll bounce back. We'll get to more of this game, more takeaways, and of course, the Falcons game coming up this week. All throughout the week, 8 to 10 a.m. Be there every day this week. Sam Flannel, JB, Gabrielle D. Phillips, Lucas Klotz, and of course, I'm here as well, Jeff Iafrate. Appreciate you guys.
I'm here.
Hey, I'm here. I'll throw my name at the end. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a good one.